Um, I appreciate you calling it my time, but I absolutely have got this time in mind to be anyone else's that wants it. Um, right now, we've got 11 people on the call. I believe all 11 people on this call have at one time or another been a club president, and 5 of which are current club presidents. The premise behind wanting to do this was the fact that we as a district have been pretty good in the past, even pre-merger, in preparing our club's leaders for what we believe their roles and responsibilities and curveballs will be in the coming year. But I don't know that we've ever been any good at all in revisiting those issues along the way to see if what was planned in March is actually what they are encountering in September or January, or when do they start looking down the hill for the end of the tunnel so that they know that they can bring in the next person that happened to miss a meeting that's going to be their club president-elect is going to inherit from them. So I tried to identify some of the different club roles that aren't getting a lot of attention in the past few weeks, and this week in particular, in the coming weeks. Membership's got a series planned. Becky Hunn's already had one of those last night, went very well. Rick and the alumni had one 2 weeks ago that went very well. We've had one foundation-oriented event in August and about to have another one Thursday of this week. So for this kind of maiden voyage, I've left the membership and the foundation folks out of the lineup, but I wanted to include as many of the others without, giving everybody one more Zoom to have to tune into. So I appreciate everybody that's taking the time out of their schedules to be here. And I truly, I don't want to, this is not designed to be one directional educational at all. I would very much like to keep my mouth shut as much as possible, despite the reputation I've developed for myself. I would encourage anybody else that wants to speak, make a comment, acknowledge something, talk as much about what they are seeing not enough of it, they'd like to have more, and the inverse, what they're seeing too much of it, they'd like to have less. We've got some extremely weathered Rotarians on this call from a positive standpoint. I don't use, I guess I could say elder statesman, but that sounds like old white guy in some other language. I don't want to say that. But you've got, I'll just go around the room. You've got an assistant governor in Roger Topping, who's a past president of the Princeton Club. You've got a past governor in David Cavender, who I believe has been president of the Morgantown Club in years past. You've got Sam McDaniel, who's a current assistant governor and past president of Grafton. You got Rick Falinas, who's the district alumni chair currently, and one of the founding members and past president of the E-Club. You've got Ed Westfall, who's the current president of Grafton, Dennis Shreve, past governor, and also, for whatever reason, current president of the Harrison County Club. Christine Anderson from Huntington, who is new on the job. She just stepped up for a vacating president about 10 days ago or so, but she's been president before, so she's got one notch on her belt already. Dan McCarthy, I believe, is the immediate past president at Beckley, and also your governor nominee. Todd Nelson is a brisk young Rotarian. He's been in his Milton Club for about 3 years or so and found himself missing a meeting and is now the president of the Milton Club. And Paul White, past assistant governor from Newburgh, and also, I don't know what, about a 10-time club president, including this current year as well, Paul. That's a guess, but that's an educated guess. So you've got all kinds of people who have done all kinds of jobs, who are doing all kinds of different jobs now. And I would love to hear, at least for starters, from the current club presidents, how things are going, what kind of struggles beyond the obvious pandemic ones you're having, maybe some discussion about what the pandemic is causing you to do, ways you found to overcome those restrictions, or maybe some things that are still being restricted, you're not quite sure what to do. I just like to talk. We've got an hour. If we want it, we can use it. If we don't, y'all can go drinking if you want to. That's up to you. Look, Sam McDaniel's drinking already. So, whatever this is your time. I just wanted to create the opportunity. I can sit here and talk Rotary all day long. You all know that, but that is not what this is for. Um, if you want that kind of opportunity, call me up. I'll give it to you. So beyond that, I'll let people volunteer. And if we encounter radio silence, I will pick on people because as I have clearly established, I know everybody on this call fairly well. And I'm not against public humiliation, as you know. So feel free. Who wants to kick things off? Ed, if you would, unmute yourself, buddy.
Okay, before you humiliate me, I'll just go ahead and make a fool of myself. I wanted to share with you an idea, and this wouldn't be for this year because this year is already rolling along, but I was looking at some other clubs' websites, and I was looking at a club in Ohio, and I was looking at their calendar, and they were having an event once a month for their president-elects. Instead of waiting until pets, they were having a virtual meeting once a month throughout the club year. And I thought, what a good idea. And I just thought I would pass that on. I don't know whose responsibility it was there to be doing that, whether it was the governor-elect that was doing it, because these president-elects would really be his presidents or her presidents. But I thought that makes sense because you get to pets, and if normally you do it in a day and a half, and there's so much coming at you. This year, of course, we did it over several weeks, which was much better, really.
Well, let me ask you that. I mean, we did it that way this year out of necessity, but I've heard a few people speak positively about it being that way because it didn't seem like so much of a 36-hour info dump as it was broken down into pieces and gave you an opportunity to kind of digest each piece. I don't know what the PETS format will be like moving forward. I know that the dates of it have been scheduled so as to appear that it will all be in person over the course of a weekend again, but that may not happen, and that may not happen because of ongoing COVID related issues as well. But I know there's a lot of districts, even in our zone pair, 33 and 34, that are big on pre-pets. They have a couple of weekend long sessions, one in the fall, one near the first of the year, and then they do their actual full blown pets later on. I guess that would kind of be the same thing you're talking about.
Yes, and what I thought was, and I think they were doing it virtually. They say in theory that if you're president-elect, you have 18 months to get ready for your year. And when when it's 18 months away, that's I'll get around to it. That's something else. I'll think about it until you get to maybe it's 2 months away when you have time to take over, and you start really thinking seriously about it.
Well, I will tell you this. I always wondered why we identified our district governor nominee designate 30 months before they became governor. I will tell you that now being where I am, I look back, and I'm not saying that district governors build rockets, because this one surely doesn't. I don't know about the ones to come or the ones before me, but I appreciate having had that much time to get my mind wrapped around and gather, information, resource, and training, so that when July 1 of the governor year started, you weren't still wondering how you wanted to do things necessarily.
Yeah, I just thought the monthly virtual meeting leading up to when two pets was a kind of just focus on it once a month, make them start thinking about what they wanted to do their year.
Well, and I will tell you that the success level of doing that would be largely based upon how early clubs are able to identify their president-elect. That is actually one of the things I happened to look at here in the last day or so, just out of curiosity. I was playing with DACDB. You know, that's what I do in my free time. I just look for more DACDB things to do. And I discovered, and Dan can probably give me an amen to this, there are 54 clubs in our district right now. 32 of them have identified their president-elect. Now that, in my mind, is not bad. That's about 60% being this far out. But I'll bet you come February, unless the current presidents and their club leadership, who you hope is drinking the proverbial Kool-Aid by then, starts getting motivated to identify who their next president's going to be, that number's still going to be 32. So, you know, I and the assistant governors this year have really tried to impress upon the clubs the importance of grooming for the future, not waiting till the last minute, or you end up like poor Paul White there, president 8 years in a row because he can't get anybody to take his place, or he's not brave enough to quit and make somebody else do it, you know, involuntarily.
I think, of course, I think it's Coop that has to do this. It's his year, but I like that idea, Ed. I think if you start having these meetings, then the onus is going to be on those clubs that haven't chosen to, you know, to get out there and select their president-elect so that they can be attending these meetings. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Definitely. Back in '09, actually it was '06. We didn't have any of that, and I know our old district, it was always an issue that you would be up to pets and still not know who your presidents were going to be.
well, and that therein lies the slippery slope. If you don't know who your next president's going to be by the 1st of March, then you probably don't have somebody attending pets. You know,
Yeah.
Technically, while I acknowledge there are no such thing as Rotary police, there is a legend that says if you don't come to pets, your current president becomes your future president as well. Now, I don't know that anybody's brave enough to really enforce that. And chances are, if you've got a club that's not attending pets anyway, it's because somebody who has done it before is, you know, on deck to do it again to some degree. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to be 3 deep for sure, if you're able to do that. And some clubs are, like I said, while there may be 22 that haven't yet identified their president-elect, at least on DACDB, that doesn't mean that they don't know who's going to be their president-elect, or who is their president-elect right now. And hats off to the 32 that have committed to that already. Christine, I saw you have your hand up.
Yeah, we were just talking about this at our club on Monday when we met. I was going through like a calendar that I used to keep.
Go back around.
President and before. And in our bylaws, we have it written in our bylaws, and maybe everybody has bylaws and it's written into it, but they don't find it, but they don't follow it. But we have an annual meeting in December, and that's when that person is elected. And I'm making the preparation now of forming the committee, and the bylaws articulate who should be on that committee. So that's helped us. And we've been consistent with that as long as I know. I think it's just been something that we've always done.
Well, let me pick on you a little bit since you've already got the smoke coming. You've been president before, and you're getting ready. You're president again now. And this most recent time, you had all of about 3 days to prepare yourself for it. What do you see as far as there being differences between being club president within this district now compared to the way it was the last time you did it? Or, notwithstanding the obvious, or if you want to talk about the obvious, feel free. I won't limit your answer. You just let the information flow.
Okay. I'll just tell you whatever comes to mind. I think for our club, and we're an older club, we're well over 100 years old, and we've got a lot of, older members and a lot of who have passed away. Our membership has dwindled over the years, and and it's changing. We're trying to get newer people or younger people, and as a result, we're enlisting a lot more people in 501c3 organizations, where back in the day, it used to be one CEO per business and all that. Well, because our membership was dwindling, we really said we have to be more diverse in what we're doing. So we still have a lot of older members, but we are getting some younger ones, more diversity, both in gender and race, which is good, but we've got a long ways to go there. I will say right now, since we've been meeting via Zoom, I think for my members, what they appreciate most is just the interaction. We run the meeting the same way with the program, do the 4-way test and all that. And we keep it to an hour just like we've always done. And it just feels really good to get together. Our Rotary is a tight group, in that we all really know each other. And I'm sure it's probably the same with your clubs too. I think it's just more than anything, it's social interaction and staying informed about what's going on. Our happy dollars that we had this time took up about half the meeting, which was really psychologically, I didn't realize until they kept talking about what was going on, positive things, how good that is. Simple stuff like that. So,
Can I pick on your club a little more too?
huh?
Can I pick on your club a
What
little more too? I've actually got something I'll throw up here on the screen. You were talking about your membership dwindling and your diversity, equity, and inclusion, those sorts of things. This will allow people to kind of put that into perspective. You've got, as it shows here, 96 people in your club, which is not one of the largest clubs, but it's larger than many. And I'll tip my hat to you, the fact that over here it shows that you've got 38% women. I think the international average is less than 30, or maybe even below that. And that's the push. I don't know if you've ever seen that demographic before. I don't know that it's of any value to anybody else. It's just happens they're looking at it now, but it kind of lets you see some of the things that you're talking about. And if those concerns are important to, the folks in the different clubs, you can go to DAC and pull this up for your own club anytime you want.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, by that graphic right there, you're not an old club.
And we've worked really hard at getting younger people. And as a result, we've had to reduce our dues, so that some of the people that are, just entering the workforce, then they don't make as much money as the traditional CEO who used to do Rotary. So we've lowered our dues to make that happen, and that's been wonderful. Mm-hmm. And it's breathed just a whole new outlook in our club. And it was good before. I'm not criticizing the way we were before, but you've got a lot of young active leaders that are joining our Rotary Club, which is good. Some of the people that used to be active, like there was a female attorney that was probably in her 30s. She was over our membership. Her job has taken her away from Rotary right now, and she's had to step down off the board. The reason I'm the new president is because our president, who was serving in that capacity, had a job change at Marshall University. And he went from being a dean to having to be a professor again because of limited funding. They got rid of the thing that he was leading over. So as all of you know, COVID's really created a lot of challenges for people on a number of different levels.
Well, I'm looking around the room at the presidents of the current presidents of the clubs that we've got on the call. And I'm glad to say that I think most of them are finding ways to flourish right now. Weston's on there. You've got Spencer on the call. You've got Milton on the call. You've got Harrison County on the call. Newburgh's on. Different clubs of different sizes, but based upon the time that I've spent with each of you and the visits that I've made to all your clubs, these are clubs that are finding a way to get things done. I think that's what you got to have. The pandemic just being one more thing that you have to try to overcome.
May I ask a question of Christine?
Sure.
Apparently you also are meeting virtually,
Yes.
totally virtually.
Totally virtually.
Yeah, so are we. And my concern, I guess, there are still some members, mostly older members, but still some members who we've lost that would come to meetings when we met in person, and we're losing them.
We've had a few of those too.
I just wondered if there was some solution you've found.
Well, I will tell you one thing, picking up the phone and calling. In fact, on Monday, we had a gentleman join us, and I go to DACTV to the directory because, actually, he might have been in my phone. But he's an older fellow, and his health was kind of struggling before, and he hadn't showed up. And I thought, well, it could be just because he's not very comfortable with using technology. Well, as it turns out, he's got early the onset of dementia. So, but we worked it out to where he misses Rotary, but he just doesn't have the ability to connect, but his caregiver's there. So she's helping him, which was really good for him to have him come this Monday. And that happened with another older gentleman too, who lives at the Woodlands. He sits with another guy that's more computer savvy. But I just pick up the phone and call. And there are a couple of more people that were really active that aren't showing. So for me, it's the personal contact. With those people that aren't showing up, just to number one, check on them, and number two, see if there's any way that by talking to them on the phone might encourage them to join the meetings, because I don't know about yours, but we really enjoy ours. Of course we'd love to see each other, but we have a good time on our Zoom meetings.
I think that's really important, Christine. We've made an effort to kind of monitor the folks that aren't showing up on Zoom conferences, and we've got a handful of Rotarians that just call, check in, and we did find individuals that were having trouble with the computer connections, and so we got somebody out to give them a hand. Some just are uncomfortable doing it. We last week arranged a 70th anniversary drive-by parade for one of our members that wasn't showing up. So I think you've really got to think about some creative ways to let them know you still care.
I love that drive-by. That's a great idea.
I know my club hasn't had a meeting, and I'll be honest with you, I don't like Zoom. I am not a techie. I missed Rick's meeting because, well, that was Comcast, which curse Comcast. But not only did they drop me, I no longer had my passwords. I had to go in and start all over again. And I actually had to have my IT people to come because I'm not. And I'm not comfortable with Zoom. And another Rotarian in my club had commented that, well, and of course, we also have the issue of where we were having our meetings will not allow a group as large as we are to have a meeting. And his comment was, if we could start having meetings where you have A through F or A through H, and then the next week, the other part. And for large clubs, although your club seems to be internet savvy enough that it's working for you, and it may be working for the Morgantown Club, but honestly, I don't even attend the Zoom meetings because I'm doing this because Sean Sawyer there asked me to be chair of the Polio Plus, and I'm not comfortable with it at all.
Well, you know what?
I don't even know if I'm on TV right now with you guys.
It's all voluntary, Cavender. You know, you just keep me posted.
No, you asked me to be the chair, and I had great expectations of going to I was going to go to every club. I'm retired now. I was going to go to every club and beat the drum for Polio Plus. And of course, COVID-19 screwed that up.
Well, you know what? I don't know that Coop's looking to replace you next year. I think you'd be welcome to stay in that capacity and hopefully be able to be a little more mobile next year.
The palm trees of Florida are calling to me.
You big baby. Hey, actually, let me throw David a compliment. He had a birthday of some significance.
70th.
Well, all right. I was going to let you say it. I wasn't going to say it. Recently, and
Last year.
he furnished the entire menu out of his pocket, and everyone that invited, he encouraged them not to bring a gift, but instead to make a Polio Plus donation. And he gathered all that money that he collected at the door, so to speak, and he made Polio Plus donations in the name of all the people that donated the money. And that was a very honorable thing that you did, and probably had something to do, in my feeble mind, as far as me wanting to identify someone as our Polio Plus chair. So the moral of the story is, Cavender, you brought it on yourself.
I know.
Yeah.
We made $2,800 for Polio Plus.
Yeah.
Not everybody there was a Rotarian.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they had to.
That's right.
The Rotarians had to. And of course, they didn't realize it, but any Rotarian who gave, it went to Evanston under their name, not that Dave Cavender gave $2,800.
Well,
But,
I saw another friend of mine come on the call here a few minutes ago, and if he will indulge me by letting me pick on him a little bit, I'd love to hear something from his perspective, because he's not a current president. I don't think he's aspiring to be a president, but he took time out of his schedule to be on this call, and that's Arnold. Arnold, if you don't mind, unmute yourself and at least just say hello and tell me what it is that led you to being part of this opportunity this evening. I'm just curious to know, because your club is well represented. I see your members here already. I want to know why you came, and I'm glad that you did.
Well, I've been secretary treasurer nominated for life. So Cavander's only 70. I'm 78. So I'm trying to grow a full beard here, see if I'm going to be Santa Claus this year, but I think I'm going to give it up. But I have another meeting to go at 7 o'clock. So do I have your permission to record this ongoing meeting?
Well, one, you don't need my permission to do anything you want to do.
Aren't you the host?
That's
It says
right.
I have to have permission of the host to record.
You have my permission, not that you need it, to do anything you'd like. And I will tell you that these are being recorded so that they can be made available to anybody that's not
Okay.
able to be on the call.
Well, then I don't have to worry about it. I can listen, and I have a meeting at 7 o'clock, and I'll just get up and leave, and
You
then I can pick it up from you later on.
go as you need to, and I will tell you that secretary treasurers are going to be in the spotlight at 6:45 as well. So
Well,
you're welcome to stick around as long as you're able. I'm glad to see you, buddy.
Sean, this is Roger. Our club is meeting, and we're meeting at the church. The church has limitations on the size of the group. We have 24 members that meet, but we are taping every program and putting it on our Facebook site so that members who are not able to come can go on the site and see the program, watch the whole. I mean, it's from the beginning to the end every week, and it's kept a lot of people engaged. We've had some large activities, projects, and we had 50-some people that participated in the golf tournament that you attended. And we have our Pancake Day, which is coming up October 30th. And at this point in time, we have about 70 members who have volunteered to help in that. And a lot of that communication is going out over our Facebook, over the program that we take and record. And so they're keeping up on things. They're just not able to attend or afraid. Some of them are afraid to attend, and I understand that.
Sure. I've seen my dynamic friend Tina Cunningham had her hand up. Please feel free to unmute yourself, my lady, and share with us.
I'm on a different device today. I'm on my iPhone. I couldn't get logged in. I'm having a horrible time, but I think I'm finally figuring it. It's different than my iPad.
And just so you all know that may not, Christine is at the Huntington Club. I'm pretty sure Arnold's still in Grafton unless they kicked him out. Roger's with the Princeton Club and Tina's with the Weston Club. So just to and I think Ed spoke, he's current president at Grafton, and I think that's everybody thus far. Just to let everybody know where they're coming from. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Well, no, it's okay. I was just kind of listening to what everybody was doing. So for Weston, we actually started with like a kind of a Zoom call with a couple of members, but we also was lucky enough to have somebody donate a space to us that was big enough for us to socially distance and still wear our mask and be able to meet. And only those who felt comfortable coming could come. Not our older people did not do the Zoom calls. They won't do them. We may, I don't know. They like our Wednesday lunch meetings, but we've limited to our meetings to 2 a month for right now until everything's going, or whatever they feel comfortable with. We just kind of do that per week. We've just been lucky enough to meet, big enough to socially distance. We've met once at Giovanni's, we've met at the park. We had a really good turnout at the park. We had 5 new members that day, and the picnic table, everything was, it was really nice that everybody was able to come. So I guess I think it's just more of what everybody feels comfortable doing. And we do have such a variety of that with the age in our group. So it makes it hard. Some of them don't even check their emails I send. So I know they're not going to Zoom with us. They like the in-person, they wear their mask. We actually tomorrow, instead of our regular meeting, we're having a service meeting at the FRN, which I'm not sure how many will show up. I'm sure we've been having around 10 people. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there that, if you're lucky enough to find a place that will split it up just because of the spacing and that, we met at the steakhouse last week. They have a little room in the back, and it was perfect. They had a little bit of a meeting and then that worked on our service project. So I had a group together today. Like, we started a group chat that we're going to do maybe one evening meeting and one lunch meeting for a while, and just have those 2 meetings per month. Because we have a location that will work with us in the evening, and we have a location that will work with us during the day. So just to kind of break it up a little bit. Maybe that way we can have people who can't come for the lunch one can come to the evening. So, but I like the idea of the Facebook Live, so I may have to steal that idea.
Does anybody else
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I have a comment and 2 questions.
Go for it.
My name is Todd Nelson. I'm president of the Milton Rotary, which is not a large club, but we are a smaller club. And after the shutdown, we met on Zoom probably the end of March, beginning of April, all the way up until we started having a hybrid meeting about a month ago. And right before we started having our hybrid meeting, we were down to maybe 3 people on Zoom. And of course, at the beginning, it was a good turnout. But I mean, last week, I know that Sean was there, and actually, if we had some of our regular members there, we would almost met our max for where we meet in person, which we moved our meeting location to a bigger space to accommodate this as well. But my question, I have two questions. One is, we normally do a breakfast with Santa. And there's been a lot of discussion of how to do a breakfast with Santa in a COVID time, which I heard somebody say they're going to do pancakes. My question is, how are other groups doing any food service projects where they're actually doing a fundraiser serving food? What would you all recommend the best way of doing that?
We had to cancel ours. We weren't allowed to do it.
We canceled ours as well.
Well, all right.
1,484 meals to deliver at the end of October, and all of ours are being delivered. No, there will be no coming in and sitting down. They'll either be delivered or they will pick up their meals. We had to alter that, our normal program.
Yeah, there was discussion about doing something for pickup and then doing a drive-by Santa where you just wave at him. But I don't know how Santa will be.
I can tell you this, Todd. I visited the Peterstown Club. I don't know, what was it, Roger? 3 weeks or so ago. You were there.
3 or 4 weeks ago, yeah.
And part of the meeting was a meal, and it was dinner time, and it was a buffet. And I thought, well, how in the world are you going to do this? And the staff at the restaurant actually fixed your plate for you, wearing a mask here and a mask there and a pair of gloves, and they brought you your food, and that was it. So to put that into your terms, Todd, maybe that's what you do is you don't come to the window and grab your own food and mill around. Maybe you come and you sit 10 feet apart and you wear a mask and your food comes and it's brought to you. Now you're with a dinner with Santa, you're probably talking about younger age group.
Yeah, that's what the public. I mean, yeah, because like we're meeting at a place where we eat now, but the question I guess would be for the public is what I was wondering, because I just don't see how we could. I mean, there was discussion about a few of the members getting food handler licenses and doing it that way, so that whoever handled the food actually had a license to do so. It doesn't sound like any other group is doing a fundraiser involving food, though. It involves anybody coming in for it, right?
Our meetings, I taught our meetings, our food comes, we have it catered. And they bring it to us, it's already boxed, and they set it on the tables. I don't know, it's going to take some brainstorming on your part to figure that one out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I know like during our meetings, that's one way, but selling, serving public and like breakfast with Santa is not really a fundraiser for us. It's it's more or less a wash in what is made and what it costs. It's more just to have the kids be able to meet with Santa, but I don't know for sure how we're going to be able to do that.
So we do something kind of similar here in Weston. We take 100 kids from the school system and we feed them and we give them Christmas presents. They see Santa. They spend an entire afternoon with Rotary, these 100 kids. And we're not allowed to do that at all. This year is like a total wash. It's just, we're just not going to be able to do it because one, we can't have that many people in a room. And we even thought about what could we do to still have an event for kids to where they have Christmas. So we decided that we were probably going to do like the angel tree, but we've also tossed around the idea of doing like a hayride and like having Santa from a distance, and maybe we just leave the gifts on their porch or something. We're not really sure, but I don't know with kids if you're going to be able to do that because of the mask wearing.
I don't know if this would work for you or not, Tina, but your club was very successful recently in doing a multiphasic blood screening where you turned it into like a drive-through format. Can you not see that same kind of an event, only you've got Santa at the end and the kids drive up in their cars with their parents? And
I thought about that as well. I just didn't know because they're low income, I'm not sure. I think that's something we're probably gonna have to ask the Board of Education, because it would have to be invite only, I'm assuming. I'm not sure.
I don't
Because
know.
the Board of Education picks our 100 kids based on the need.
Mm.
So that's our biggest problem right there, is how those kids are chosen to come participate in that.
Well, let me pick on Julie for a minute. I was just with her club not long ago in Spencer, and they had a meal for lunch, and it was already prepared in a box, and all you did was wear your mask and line up and grab your box and go sit down and do your thing. I see her giving me a nod. I don't know if that's going to encourage her to
Yes.
tell me anything.
Yes, I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Sorry. Yes, we contacted one of our local restaurants, and they boxed up salads and had everything individually packaged so that you could just go up and grab, you know, what you wanted and then go back to your seat. We were able to use our community building for Sean's visit, which is a larger area, but that's not available to us every week. So we've just been doing conference call meetings because Roane County is kind of the black hole for connectivity. So not everybody has reliable access, especially if they're working from home. So we just go through freeconferencecall.com, and we have an assigned call-in number and meeting number, and we enter in the same information every week. We've had, I think, 3 meetings physical since March. The 2 have been at a restaurant. Their space is a little smaller than I'm comfortable with, and a lot of our other members were comfortable with, but the conference calls have been working for us very well. But yeah, I think a lot of restaurants are also making accommodations, so they will have the opportunity, you know, like they've got more availability of individually boxed meals if you need to feed your people and not come in contact, or, you know, are not comfortable with a buffet style setting.
Does that help? Does any of that help you at all, Todd, so far?
Yeah, it's nice to get an input from some other clubs, because it sounds like everybody's going through the same boat and how to handle it. The other question I had was, we do not offer a corporate membership at this point, but I've heard that other group clubs do. And if there are any clubs on this call that does do corporate memberships, how does that work with your club?
Well, I know Huntington has one, and I know my club, Fairmont, has one, and I know Weston's got one, because Tina's the corporate member.
I'm the first one.
So I mean, I'm glad to give you everything that Fairmont's got. I won't tell you who designed it all necessarily, but I'll give it to you anyway.
And Todd, Huntington Club has like a family membership too, where there's a reduced price that way. I'll share my bylaws with you, because I think we've incorporated it into that, so you can see what that's like. And the other thing about your Santa thing, I know you're in Milton. You know, I wonder if you could do something with the Barbersville Park when they do the trees drive-through. If they're doing that, they'd be a good barometer. I don't know if you want to go that far away from Milton, but I wonder if there's a partnership opportunity with the Barbersville Park, if they're going to do the drive-through trees sort of thing, that you can do something with Santa that way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I know Santa's going to be hard overall. I don't know if you'll see very many Santas this year, at least in person, not driving by, I'd say.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, Christina, Christine, can you send me a copy of your bylaws as well? We don't have anything we don't have bylaws even for corporate. I just pay a member fee for that. I think we really need to set that up, and the family thing too. I think that's a great idea. I think our club could benefit from that.
If you guys could both, I could look you up on DACDB, but if it's easy for you to, in the chat, give me your emails.
And I think Rebecca has consolidated a lot of these examples that we've done around the district too. So she might be a good source too. You'll get several different frameworks, if you will, that have been used within the district. And I'm happy to share what we did at Beckley as to we have both a family and a corporate membership.
I see
Thanks so
Todd
much.
put his email address in the chat. You others would like to do that as well.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Todd, back to your Santa dilemma. I know that the city of Spencer did for Easter. They usually have the Easter bunny and they have an Easter egg hunt on the lawn. And our fire department loaded up the Easter bunny in the back of one of the fire trucks and drove the Easter bunny through every neighborhood in town. That might be an option for you all to partner with somehow with your fire department and make Santa mobile. Of course, that's going to be depending on the weather. You know, you don't want to kill Santa with exposure. It'd be bad if Santa died of exposure, but that might be an option for.
I really like that idea.
Ed, you had
like
your
that idea.
Yes, I was just going to let everybody know that a lot of the things that you were looking for as far as examples of membership forms, of different alternative membership, Becky Hunn has put those on the district's website, and they're under the heading downloads.
Okay.
And under downloads, you've got the first item is annual budget. And then the next one is club share - membership. If you click on that, you'll see documents from various clubs around the district.
There's a screenshot of the homepage for the district website, and right here is where Ed's talking about. Down here towards the end is downloads, and if you go drop down to club share membership, you can see if you scroll down all the different documents that you can rip off and duplicate. That's what R&D means in Rotary term.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I've been there, especially like for the grant application, things like that. So that's good.
Yep. Same tab, different stop. You got it.
Yeah.
Well, we've got, I don't know, 20 minutes or so left. I would like to hear anybody that's got anything they want to share that's not necessarily COVID precipitous. Just generally speaking, how things are going with the administration of your clubs. I know we've got Rick Falunas on the call, who is not only our district alumni chair, but also by default, the president of the new Mountain State Rotary Alumni Association. And I don't know that club presidents or aspiring presidents and the alumni have a whole lot of things in common, but Rick, you may have your own woes in the administration of your brand new club, so to speak, that could apply to this group as well. You know, anything you want to throw in there? I haven't heard from you yet.
Well, thanks, Sean, and thanks to everybody for being here. This is a good idea, but the biggest woe that I have, I guess there are two of them. One is, what are Rotary alumni? And I hope that club presidents will take the opportunity to talk with club members, regardless of whether it's an in-person meeting or whether it's a Zoom meeting or virtual, whatever, about who the Rotary alumni are, what they are. Number one, and number two, I have distributed what Rotary International has about any Rotary program participant who was sponsored by all the Rotary clubs in the district that are still in existence or who in the past have had alumni. And of the 51 clubs I was in communication with, I don't mean to complain here, but 2 have responded with indicating that they've received the information and that they have some information to share with regard to some additional alumni who were not on the list. And my hope is that this provides an opportunity for each of the clubs to reach out to other people who may or may not be Rotarians. Of the now about 30 members of the Alumni Association, less than half are Rotarians. So we're reaching out to non-Rotarians to bring them back to Rotary, to involve them again in Rotary, with the hopes that bringing them back into an affiliation with Rotary, that they will begin to express interest. They all have expressed interest, but will actually participate in activities of the Rotary clubs, in their area. And then with that participation will be a linkage and a connection with Rotarians and the Rotary clubs in their area. And if now is not the time for membership, their continued participation in the Alumni Association and with clubs across the district may lead to future Rotarian activities or future Rotarians. So I appreciate anybody who wants to know about Rotary alumni. Who are they? What are they? Actually, club presidents can access, or anyone can access. There is a program on the club website or on the district website, which Sean showed under programs, Rotary alumni. And there is a PowerPoint presentation there. If you want to have a program on Rotary alumni, certainly welcome to use that. It has notes, it has slides, and there are Rotary alumni who would be glad to do a program for you, be included about Rotary alumni. But I just mentioned that, and it may be just as simple as if you wish to stand up at a virtually or in person at a club meeting and say, who has been in the GSE team? Who knows a youth exchange student? Who sponsored a youth exchange student? Who knows somebody who was a Peace Scholar? Who knows somebody who was a participant in an ambassadorial scholarship program? And you may find that the people in your club know of people who weren't in an association in a program which qualifies them for alumni, but they may know somebody who does know somebody. And the more we know in that regard, the more we can reach out. There are more than 500 Rotary alumni who were sponsored by the clubs in our district. Less than typically nationally, less than 5% actually become Rotarians, although more than 50% of them, when they participated, said they want to continue their connection with Rotary. So we're missing the boat in terms of reaching out to other people who are in our communities. And we're actually reaching out internationally. I just talked with a member of a GSE team that came here from Japan, who's interested, and will be reaching out to 3 other of her team members. We had somebody else with Youth Exchange from Chile, is now a member of our Rotary Club. She does not live in our district area of our Alumni Association. So it's a great opportunity in that sense to reach more people who have had an affiliation and have continuing affinity for Rotary and Rotary service, who are interested in being involved again. And I'm glad to answer any questions for anybody anytime. Write to me, give me a buzz on the phone. I'm glad to talk to you about it. Thanks for the opportunity, Sean.
Well, that may have, jostled some ideas in some of the other folks' minds as well. Because a lot of what you got going on are some of the concerns that I think all of us and all of our clubs have, regardless of any kind of pandemic, as far as who the low-hanging fruit is, as far as who we want to enhance our club experience to and with, and anybody have any of those kinds of ideas that they want to share or comments make, or you want to file an official grievance, now's your chance. Sheila Coe, how about you? I haven't picked on you yet. You're an immediate past president. What's your perspective of Spencer these days?
Well, I wanted to say to the people that are doing the Zoom meetings to make sure that there are people who are not computer literate know that there's a telephone number to call in on, that you don't have to do it on your computer. that they don't have to show themselves, that it can totally just be a phone call and they can listen to the Zoom meeting and participate. I think that a lot of people that do Zoom think that the only thing they can do is virtual.
That's an excellent point. You know, with those Zoom invites, and God knows I've seen enough of them and created enough of them, there is a way that you can just call in and be a little black square, and you can hear what's going on. You don't really have to participate. You certainly don't have to be seen. And you're right that sometimes that is, you know, a point of contention with some folks, is they just feels like too much of a spotlight on you when you're a little black square on a screen. So
Yeah. And most people have cell phones now, so they can call in and do it over the phone and not do it virtually.
Yep.
But Spencer's doing great.
who else? How about Paul White or Dennis Shreve? You gentlemen have come from clubs modest in size. Anything that you would like to share with regard to Harrison County or Newburgh?
You know, as far as Newburgh, of course, we are a small club and we're in a very rural area. A lot of the community projects that we've done in the past has pretty much come to a close this year because of COVID. But they are planning on doing like a trunk or treat for the youth in the community on the 31st. So we are participating in that with minimal membership, because quite a few of our members are getting up there in age, and I just haven't felt comfortable with trying to drag everybody out for an activity, to be quite honest with you. I'd have a hard time living with myself if I got somebody sick, helping out the community there. So we just do it with minimal membership and just try to keep pedaling. We haven't been meeting in person because we meet at a church, and they're under quite a few restrictions also. So we just really keep in touch with each other by email and telephone calls. We're not really a area that I would consider great for internet connection, so I kind of rule Zoom out. But I think that's why they like me in there for president, because I get on the computer and keep in touch with everything that's going on at district and zone and international, and then pass the information on to them. So other than that, that's like I say, we're just still pedaling, Sean.
Let me give you some credit as well. For those of you who don't know, Paul doesn't text. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all be Paul just for a day and not have to text anybody? Paul's pretty much got I don't even know if it's a flip phone. I think it was like the predecessor to a flip phone. He doesn't text. God bless him. You want Paul, you either send him a letter or you go to his house. I wish I was brave enough to be that way. So Dennis, are you still there, or did you turn yourself into a black square so that nobody could see that you weren't still with us?
No, I'm still here. I just was eating supper, so
Oh, okay.
I didn't think you wanted to watch me eat.
Oh, I can respect that. I've seen you eat. I don't want to watch that. You're right.
Sparks fly. Our club's really kind of struggled a bit, but one of the things that we've done this year is we have brought in some assistant members, I guess is how we classify them. And some of the kids, I call them, of course, they're in their 30s, that have been a part of RILA have actually joined the club and become part of the club. And we've been meeting, well, we didn't meet at all for a while, just pretty much did emails. And then we started in person again, but we really only have usually about 6 to 10 people at a meeting anyhow. And we do have some members that do not attend because of COVID, and we canceled our golf tournament. I felt a little bit like Paul. I'd hate to put something on and end up having somebody get sick as a result of some golf tournament or some public event that we would have. So we just really kind of have laid low from that standpoint. We actually do have a member who has had COVID, so luckily they haven't been coming to the meeting.
Gotcha. Well, let me before anybody has to take off, and I don't want to keep anybody longer than they want. If there's more to discuss, let's do that. I would just like to get a little bit of feedback. Is this something that you all would be interested in doing again? Not necessarily, I don't want to term it in more often, because I know the answer to, oh yeah, geez, I'd love to Zoom more often than I already do. That's not my question. My question is, do you feel like there would be benefit in doing something like this again, or at least maybe once more between now and pets? We do have a couple of presidents-elect on the call. And let me ask you my question 1B before you answer 1A. Someone had said that there might be benefit in creating on our district website a blog. I'm not tech lingo savvy. I don't even like that word necessarily, but my understanding is that it would provide everybody with an opportunity to go to the website and ask questions that could be answered by anybody else that's got, access to the same site, which we may have to, put a gatekeeper function into that somehow, so people aren't asking inappropriate questions or inappropriate people asking any questions. But that was one idea that was brought up to me. Instead of having to cause people to endure one more Zoom call in order to be able to exchange information this way, maybe we create that kind of a mechanism where you can just go in there and type your question, and somebody comes along and answers it. I'd love to hear anybody's, feedback or ideas in that sense as well before we go, if you've got any.
I like this Zoom call. I think it's really informative, and I like hearing everybody's ideas on what the other clubs are doing. And I'm sorry, my phone's messed up because it's in safe driving mode and I don't know how to take it off.
Are you driving?
I was.
Well, then don't take it off. It's the whole point.
I'm home now.
Oh, okay.
I just can't get it off there. So,
Ask your grandchild. They'll know how to do it.
there's no one's here. But
think
yes,
it's a
I
great
like
idea.
these.
So you think you could endure this? I mean, do you think it's a good idea in general to do it more often than just once a year and hope for the best, especially in a year like this one with all the uncertainty that
Absolutely. I think
other day,
I mean, maybe try it once a month. And if people aren't coming on the call, then maybe once every 3 months, maybe we do it once a quarter, but once a year is not enough.
Well, I don't want to burden everybody with a bunch of stuff. I will tell you this, we've got 54 clubs in the district and 6 current presidents decided to come tonight. Now, there hadn't been a whole lot of notice, and it is just Tuesday and people have got things going on, and it's, the dinner hour. There might be a lot of reasons for that, but I don't want to be just one more thing people feel like they have to do, or one more thing that people want to try to avoid. Or, I mean, if there's benefit in doing this, then I think doesn't take much to pull it off. And I'm glad. Okay.
I would, I don't know if I'm, okay, I think it would especially be good for my president-elect, and I think she would attend when she could. Her schedule is pretty packed, so that would be one of the main reasons why she wouldn't attend. It's just kind of a schedule conflict. So the frequency may be a good idea, and that may be very helpful to her.
Well, let me add this then to what you just said. I'm glad to talk to anybody that wants to talk. But if we want to design a session like this specifically for the future presidents, although they were invited to this session, that we make sure that it's done during a time where Coop can be part of the conversation as well, because for reasons you've already identified, those are the folks that are going to serve as president the same time he serves as the governor. And they're, you know, it doesn't hurt to start establishing those relationships early on anyway. So, I mean, I'd be glad to be part of it. I'd sit in and do whatever anybody wants me to do. But I think it would be great to have him involved as well.
What are your thoughts about having a Facebook group for presidents and president-elects that we can go on and ask questions on that private group? I like the blog idea, but I was just thinking of something where we could bounce ideas off of people.
We know the Flamingos, if you'll indulge me for a minute, which is my governor's class, the 31 of us in the zone pair. We have a WhatsApp thing on our phone.
Yeah.
Some days it's invaluable. Other days it makes me want to throw my phone off the nearest cliff, just because of the volume of traffic that an application like that, you know, lends to generating. So, but at least with a Facebook group, like you mentioned, which I'd never thought of before, you can go on there, and I know that's what Rick's doing right now with the Alumni Association. And I don't know how much, you know, conversation's been generated yet, but why not? And then, you know, as you move on or up the rank or out the door, whichever direction you're going after you've been president, you could remove yourself from that group, but it could stay in place, and then you just, you know, join as your time comes, so to speak. Yeah, that's a good idea, Todd.
I was just thinking, I mean, a monthly's not a bad idea, but, you know, like if I have a question next week, you know, I don't want to bombard you continuously with emails, and it might just be something you throw on there, and then somebody else has the same experience and already can answer it in 5 minutes, you know, and it'd be at will of whoever wants to do it.
Well, I will tell you this much. It's too late to avoid bombardment. You feel free to ask me any question you've got all the time. And I've said 100 times, and Dan's heard it 99 of those, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Very seldom, even when I'm alone, sometimes am I the smartest guy in the room. But I'm smart enough to have surrounded myself with a lot of smart people. So you feel free to send me any question, anytime, any of you have. And if I don't know the answer, chances are I do know somebody that does. And I'm glad to help. That's why I'm here. Don't get me started. The district serves the clubs, period. You know that. That's what I'm doing. I know that's what Coop intends to do. I know that's what Dan intends to do. So the future is bright for 7545.
I think you should go ahead and start that Facebook group. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
And not that I don't ever feel like I'm bothering you, Sean, but I do think that sometimes seeing things like that and bouncing ideas off of each other may snowball into something that none of us even thought of.
Okay. Ed, you had your hand up too. You're muted though, sir. There you go.
Yes, there was just something small that I wanted to share. I don't know whether you all are having any problems with signups for your projects, but since we're meeting virtually, once we wanted to sign up for the first activity, okay, how do we do this? We can't pass a piece of paper around the table like we would normally do. And I found a website called volunteersignup.org. And it's free, and it's easy to set up a sign-up sheet. Getting your members to use it may be the next problem. I still haven't totally accomplished that, but I do find that the site is very useful. And I'm going to try to send it out to everybody on
You turned yourself off, Ed. You muted yourself, Ed.
Yeah, well, I guess I tried to send the chat, and I ended up muting myself.
Maybe, like Arnold said, maybe you should have one of your grandchildren do that for you.
Yeah.
Well, I've got 642. Does anybody, David? Yes, sir. You have to unmute yourself. Are you waving goodbye or are you raising your hand? You're muted. I can't hear you.
Hey,
There you go.
now I'm on? Okay.
Yes, sir.
First of all, as polio chair, I want to congratulate the Spencer Club because they gave our governor their contribution of $45 per person when he went for his visit. And, you know, there's been a lot of discouragement because we sent emails to all the clubs, and we haven't had a whole lot of response. I'd like to mention that the Grafton Club this Saturday is having an event, which I'm not sure. I thought it was a walkathon, but maybe it's a roadblock.
It's both.
Yeah, Ed, go ahead.
It's both.
It's both. Okay. For contributions to polio. And it's not just the money, which, yeah, Evanston says $45 per person. But more than that, it's making your community aware that Rotary is involved in an international project to rid the world of polio. We still have two countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan, and needless to say the words and you understand why. We still have polio in those two nations. If the Bridgeport Clarksburg clubs are having a putt-putt for polio this Saturday. I actually drove down because I believe in the 7 Ps, which I'm not going to mention. I can't even remember them now, but the 7 Ps to figure out where this thing was going on. And believe me, I would never have found it if I hadn't gone down on Thursday and spent an hour to figure out where this little putt-putt place is. And if you haven't done anything, and of course with COVID-19 it's tough, I would urge you to talk to your club members and try to come up with some kind of an event, not only to give the money, but also to educate your community that we still have polio in the world. We have a meeting, I believe, on the 20th. Nod your head, Sean.
The 20th of, today's the 20th.
Okay, the 22nd?
We have a virtual farewell to polio planned.
Farewell to polio.
Thursday evening via Zoom at 5 o'clock.
If you could get your members to join into that. Because I think one of the speakers is a polio victim.
Correct.
And if you want a program and you are having meetings, I will gladly come to your meeting. As far as Spencer and Grafton and Bridgeport, Clarksburg, I'll come to your meeting, mention polio, thank you for your contribution, and then to give you an RLI meeting program on any subject you want, membership, whatever. Because the other hat I've always worn has been Rotary Leadership Institute. And as I said in the beginning, my expectation was I had planned to go to every club and beat the drum for Polio Plus. Needless to say, that hasn't happened. I am not a Zoom person. If you want me to do a Zoom meeting on Polio Plus, I'll try. But I'm much more comfortable with a mask on, being in a room with you. But I personally think that I think you had 6 presidents here tonight. This was fantastic. And unfortunately, the other, 46 presidents who didn't participate have really missed out, because you all, between talking to each other, have just given yourselves so much more. And they're just as a bystander sitting here listening to you all. This is what it's all about. And everybody has problems. And we all have, a lot of us have the same problems. But if you want a speaker, I'll come for whatever the subject is. You can reach me at cavenderlaw@hotmail.com. Go Herd for Roger and Christine. I'm a 1971 graduate of the University of Southern West Virginia.
Okay, time to mute Cavender.
He's going to mute me. Okay, thank you.
I put your email address up in the chat, David.
Okay.
I appreciate you and everybody else being here. I guess in the spirit of being timely and honest, we probably should pivot the conversation a little bit to encompass, secretary treasurer issues. I don't know that there will be that many. I know that there could be that many, and depending on your club's administration, there probably should be many. But you're welcome to stay and chat about that. You're welcome to leave if you'd like. I do see that we've gotten here more recently another member of the Weston Club in Krista Adkins. I don't know whether she's just being curious or she's got something to deliver to the group, but if you've got any more president-related issues or questions, feel free to reach out to me by any means necessary. I'm going to start exploring some of these other ideas that you all came up with. I think they're all very good, and I appreciate your time. So if you want to bail, now's a good time to do that. If you want to stick around, feel free. I'm going to be here for all night. I'll talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about. Thank you all that are leaving for making
Thanks.
the trip. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Great job, Sean. Hey, I'm going to switch over to phone. I got to go away from the computer for a little while, so hopefully
Okay, buddy.
I won't
All right.
for too long.
Well, we've got a few that stayed. If you don't mind giving me 2 minutes so I can run and get a cup of coffee, I'll be right back, and then we'll chat some more for whoever decides to stay or whoever decides to come in after now. I'll be right back. Okay, anybody still with me? Sorry, that took a little longer than 2 minutes. I apologize. Looks like, oh, look, hometown's gone landline. Deb Halsey Hunter, our illustrious district communications officer, is among us. Nice to see you, Deb.
Good to see you.
Sheila stayed, Sam stayed, Dennis stayed, and Krista Adkins is confined herself to being a little black square. Maybe with some peer pressure, we'll get her to become visible, or at least unmuted for a minute. I apologize, we went over, but I mean, that's the last session. That's maybe a good problem to have. Everybody was very communicative and open and discussing things, and that's the whole point. So my apologies for getting started, what in the general scheme of things, 10 minutes later than we'd planned. And I don't know that we've got necessarily a whole lot of secretaries and treasurers on the call. We've got our district treasurer on the call. So let's at least give in the spirit of being honest, an opportunity to discuss those kinds of things. Then if you want to wrap it up early, we can, or if you want to stick around and talk about other things, we can do that too. But who's got anything they want to start by throwing out there? I'm not going to, most of you heard this already. I'm not going to sit here and talk all night. I do that other times, and that's not what you want to hear. It's not going to be conducive. And it's been a while since I've been a club secretary or a club treasurer, but you do have the benefit of having our district treasurer here tonight. And Tina, tell me, let me pick on you since you're visible.
Sure.
What does, there's Krista. See, you got brave. Unmute yourself if you would, please. Paul White's coming back as well. What role do you serve in your club right now, Krista?
Secretary.
Ah, you are well placed in this conversation then. I saw you come in towards the end of the presidential discussion, and just for your benefit, I will tell you that most of that conversation, as you would guess, kind of circled around COVID and its related restrictions. I'm glad to talk about, from your perspective, what it is that's going on with the Weston Club and any kind of trials, tribulations, or successes that you've had so far this year. I will concede that some of them, if not all, are probably related to COVID and what it has caused. But if you've just got anything that you'd like to throw out there, you're the most qualified to start leading this discussion. I would encourage you to do that, and I'll sit down and shut up for a minute.
Boy, this makes 2 days in a row. You've put me in the hot seat.
That's how it works, man. Public humiliation. Like I said, I'm not so big to avoid it.
Well, I don't know that really I have anything to talk about as far as COVID, but as far as club operations, I know I personally need some help just navigating the database system and learning more about how it's used to benefit the club, because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tina, but historically, I think Weston has just done everything on paper, and that really frustrates me.
Well, you're a child of the future in comparison to we seasoned people on this call. You've got new ideas and new things and new interests and new ways of doing things. Lucky for you, our district communications officer, who really, I don't know if she planned on speaking this early in the evening or not, but Deb's like me. She's never short on words, buddy. You got a question you want to ask from an electronic communication standpoint, database entry, she's it. You knock yourself out, and the rest of us will sit here and watch you two talk for a while. That's fine.
I think our biggest problem for Weston that we need answers, like Krista and I talked about today, was so I'm good with the data entry. I've been putting the members in and doing that part of it. But our biggest problem right now is invoicing people and making sure that we get paid. that's always been done on paper. It's never been correct. You don't know really if people pay or don't pay. Thomas purchased the trial version to where we could invoice people, and Krista and I don't know how to use it. And Thomas hasn't had time to play around with it. And we really need help with that part, because we do have members who want to pay with credit cards. So
Yes.
we don't know what to do.
Could I address that maybe?
Absolutely.
Okay, a Princeton club, we've gotten into a big mess, sort of. And I guess I'm coming along to straighten it out, but we want to start, using like an app to let anybody pay for lunch, dues, and we had a golf thing about 3 weeks, Sean, you were there. Anything that they want to pay Rotary, that we have this app. Well, that's good, but what we're having to do, though, is to file our bank that we're going through. The person came that's going to set it up for us. We have to have a business license. Well, that's good, but getting information from some of my club members, as I've only been a member of this club about 1.5 years, I was in Bluefield about 12 and a half years. We had to file for a business license. And one of the things you need, of course, is what I call, and Sean, you know about the legit or legal name of your club. Well, you might think, well, don't you know the name of your club? But it has to be like it's on like anything that you file taxes or on your bank, whatever. The second piece of information you have to submit to the state of West Virginia, to the treasurer's office, would be to submit, they want to know the fundraising and just the fundraising that you had the previous year. So the person that was the secretary the year before. So in other words, we're needing to do that. That's what we're having to go through to jump through our hoops to get our app now. That's how we're saying it. But some of them say, well, just use PayPal. Well, I'd like to do that, but some of them are more familiar, want to use this other app. So there's easier ways without having to file and get a business license. But that gets you into another whole realm of things that you should be doing, I guess. But that
Is there
ahead.
not a way through Rotary's database system? Does it not have a program that you can pay online?
Not to pay something like we're talking about, like for lunches and dues and things like that. But like if you were registering for an event, yes, I can set it up. We have it, Dennis and I, it took a while to get that way, didn't it, Dennis? But we got that, that you can go online and register and pay like that. But we don't have anything per se that you could use as your club. But probably one of the easiest ways, simplest ways to me would be to use PayPal. Or
I
didn't have to go and file the things like we're having to do to get the business license. And I think it's a cumbersome route we're taking. But, I'm not in charge of those things. I'm just having to do the paperwork for them.
I think we're talking more about in the DAC database. You can actually invoice the members for their membership fees.
Yes.
Thomas had done something. That's what we need help with.
Right. There is an invoicing, and it's a financial package. And I forgot how much it is per year. Some of these things, most of the things that we do is a base price that you all are probably already paying. But some of the things like the website, we just elected to go that route 3 months ago, the Princeton Rotary. We didn't like the way the Cucumber group that has our actually district thing was doing. They went up on price, so we could do it a whole lot less in DAC-DB. But that is an accounting finance thing that you could do that and bill that way. But one of the ways, without paying that, because $208.95 may not be a big deal to you, but it could be. But you can go in and create any report. So what I would probably do is you can create an Excel spreadsheet. You go to your member list, create it, export it, and dump it into a spreadsheet. And then you can look, and then you could bill all your club members send them emails. That would be one way without, circumventing, circumventing and buying without paying the module for the finance package.
Are there trainings on the finance module?
Yes, there would be. And I guess Sean or somebody's already pulled us up. Is that you, Sean, or?
I'm working on it. I was
Okay.
trying to keep up with you. You talk faster than I can type. There's how you download your information on an Excel spreadsheet that you were talking about. Now, I can also show you why Deb says that that is a yes with regard to that other question. And that's because if you go to, let me throw share screen up here. If you go to, for instance, my club, and you go down here to club finance, that's where that opportunity is. You'll see here over on the left, there's already a prefab video that shows you what the different aspects and features there are in that paid package. I won't play it. It says it's 7 minutes long. You can do that on your own. But the other thing that you can do is, if I can find it, there are little training sessions that have been set up.
Check
Deb?
under support.
Yep.
And if you look over there, one of the things they have on the left-hand side is DAC-DB training. And so if you come down to that and click there, and one of the cool things they've done, that first one is kind of interesting, COVID-19 training. You might think, well, what's under there? So they started that back in probably the 1st of April doing, it's really neat how they did it. They did 20-minute training videos, and then the last, or Zoom meetings, and then the last 10 minutes were for questions. So to me, it's a 20-minute whatever. It's pretty much on that one topic. But then you can look and see all the help topics that they do have there. And they do have one on the finance to show you what it would offer. But I'm not sure how many members does the Weston Club have?
Like 33.
Okay. To me, that, I mean, if you wanted to pay that for the finance package and learn that, that's fine. But, you could also just dump it into a spreadsheet and then email everybody their dues. I mean, or email it through DAC-DB, and, that would be one way. But if you wanted to do the PayPal or the instant pay or things like that, you'd have to probably go through the finance package, I would assume.
Yeah, the problem with PayPal, I know that that's the way our club does it, and the reason that it agreed to do that was just for a couple of members that wanted to pay that way, is it charges the club a fee in order to be able to obtain their money that way. Well, if you had enough of those, you'd end up starting to shoot your club coffers in the foot by allowing that.
Well, that's why with the route we're going with this, and I can't remember the name of it, I should be able to, is that he told us how many it was, but he says, I mean, this guy was real knowledgeable. He said it's much cheaper for your members to use debit cards rather than their credit cards. It's a lesser fee and all this kind of thing, and it's paid per transaction. What we do, we turn around and, mark it up enough so that the club's not paying anything, the members are. But even though the members might be paying $1 something a transaction, most of them were happy to do it because they just don't want to, nobody carries checks and that kind of thing anymore. And, so that's where we are on that. So we've kind of studied the ins and outs of it. So I think it's a cheaper route and better than PayPal, but I think most of us are probably much more familiar with PayPal. But that's kind of where we are and what we're having to do. But to set it up, the bank needs that information just to verify that we are a business. Well, we can't verify that we are a business till we have that West Virginia business license.
I think maybe Thomas was under the understanding that we could just buy that program and then work like through it to bill our members and everything. He was supposed to mess around with it during the trial just so we could see if it was worthwhile, or do we just make the spreadsheet and just keep mailing invoices like we've always done.
Well, and the only thing the spreadsheet would do would help you. But now I don't really know, and to be honest, because the club in Bluefield, we just, everybody that was our treasurer did like QuickBooks, or we had a CPA. I don't know what she used, but she took care of it. but we could never pay, you know, with credit card, that type thing in there. And so I'm just saying that's how we tracked it, was on it. I think she used QuickBooks or whatever, but I'm not sure in that finance package, unless they've added it, if there would be a way for members to pay online or whatever. I don't know.
Okay, well,
The
I
only thing
donated a computer. I donated a laptop to our group and a QuickBooks program. So I think Krista, I think it might just be beneficial for us to get the laptop back from Thomas, and you and I set up QuickBooks, since I'm already familiar with it, and us do that.
Right. The whole thing is about this is not a problem, but people could probably pick up QuickBooks and maybe a little bit better. The thing with DACDB, that's what I've been trying to do, is trying to find communication people in each club. I know most officers change every year, but if you change your DACDB person or communication type person there every year, about the time they get trained, they leave and you got to start over. So I'm hoping this person will volunteer and keep it a lifetime. But it's not hard once you get in and everything, but you know, but I'm hoping to start next week posting, just like for those of you that are, you know, and sometimes it's a dual role, secretary treasurers, you know, so we've tried to identify the key person in the club to what are the first things the secretary really needs to know in DACDB. And it's just going to be I'm going to just, you know, send things and just put steps, very brief things that you could just take the steps and do it, but also send you to the link on DACDB to that training module. And I like the way they do it. None of them are very long, and you know, they answer the good questions and just show you I mean, I tell you, they do a great job on it at the training. But I guess one of the first ones would be to be able to, like you said, add and put new members in and terminate new members. And then the second thing is to edit the member information. And then but going back to number one, which was being able to add and terminate members, especially adding, you know, you have to be able to do the Rotary integration, because I had one of our district people this week, she says, how do I get into Rotary International? I said, well, you can do it in DACDB. So we just did a very quick thing, and it's very easy, but it's just 2 or 3 little steps, but if you don't know where to go and look, you know, it can be overwhelming. And none of this is hard. It's just a matter of knowing where to go, you know? So that's my hope, is to start next week with all of our communication people in the clubs, sending just very simple emails about one of the things is how you add new members, terminate them, then how to maybe edit information would be by next week, and then the Rotary integration. And then usually about November, December, we need to think about getting our new officers in, how to add those to the clubs. And that's some of the things that as a secretary that probably DACDB, now it can get involved as much as you want to get, but and we can get, you know, going there, but those are the things that the clubs really need to know how to do.
Are you going to send that to just like the secretaries, or who will get that training?
Well, I try to get each club. I've been working on this for about 6 weeks to identify, and I've sent this to the president, and I forgot who else I emailed or copied, to give me the person in the club. And sometimes it is the secretary, but sometimes it's another person that is going to be their DACDB person. And that's who I'm going to send it to, is the club communication officer, but I probably will send it to the secretaries also.
I did some of that snooping before our call tonight. I looked on DAC in the different district, you know, club committee totals. Almost every club has a secretary identified. Almost every club has a treasurer identified, but only 18 of the 54, which is an exact third, have an actual club communications officer identified, which in my mind is the person that really is the one that's most hands-on with the DAC DB types of issues. Now, that may not be what your club communications officer does. It may be like you're talking about, Krista, that it's your secretary that's responsible for a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And
now, Sean, we're on 39 now. I'm up to 39 clubs that have identified that, and a lot of them, it is the secretary. They have dual roles, you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're up to about 39 now, which is good.
Yeah, they're like, I mean, I looked under that heading of club communication officer. There were 18 total listed.
And I've got to put some of those, I've got to put the rest of those in, yes.
Okay. Sheila, you've had your hand up for a good while. I apologize.
Well, I just wanted to say, as somebody that actively uses QuickBooks, DACDB, and has tried to use DACDB's financial section, I recommend that if you have access to QuickBooks, you set your books up in QuickBooks.
That's what I
And
mean.
and that you find somebody that's not going to do that for year to year, that's just basically going to be the treasurer.
Right.
Well, Dennis is nodding his head too. Tell me, Sheila, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, finish, please.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dennis has been the treasurer of District 7545 and its predecessor for, this is the 23rd year, is that right? And 25, and he's got 2,000 people in his club. How is it that you have kept us all out of prison all these years, Dennis, keeping track of numbers and billing and invoicing and things like that?
Yeah, I've never worked with the financial side of DACDB. I've always used some version of either QuickBooks or Quicken, or I'm using QuickBooks Online now, and I find it very easy for all purposes for the district, for the invoicing and keeping track of all that. I just find it much more convenient, I think, than having to learn the DACDB side of it.
Right.
Krista,
And then you think about it, in 2 years' time, I mean, you would spend over $400 on a finance package, and I'm not sure what Quicken or QuickBooks or any of them, what the cost is, but 2 or 3 years' time, it's like and there you go. But I haven't, and that's the thing. None of our clubs I've been in, Princeton or Bluefield, have ever had the finance package. I've seen the training module, but without using it, and no reason to, I couldn't tell you everything it does. But I'm just thinking, I've used QuickBooks, and it's just like so easy to use. And most people are more familiar than, like you said, DACDB, and it's more universal than DACDB. So.
And we have the desktop version, so we wouldn't have a fee for that anymore. So.
Let me ask this question. Krista, are we staying on path here? Are we still on course with regard to your question? I haven't deviated from it too much yet. We're good. I see. I'm gonna guess that's Rick Flunis down there in the corner that just came on. Rick, are you with us?
I am.
Could I ask you, you're the founding father and past president of the E-Club, a group that never met, ideally by choice, never really met in person except for on special occasions. Do you have any insight as to how it is that club does its billing and invoicing and things?
It has just been a separate program. It has not been as part of DACDB. I believe it's been QuickBooks, that kind of a program. I mean, they have such a small budget, and that, so no, it has not been part of DACDB.
I got it. Sam, we haven't heard much from you tonight at all since 5:30. You feeling all right? Okay. Well, I just, I'd love to hear your stoic voice at some point tonight if you've got anything to contribute.
No, I just love to hear you talk, Sean. So I'm just saying.
Well, there went the first part of that four-way test thing.
Sean, this is Sheila. Can I talk about the credit cards?
Absolutely.
Okay. My suggestion for credit cards, and there are cheaper ways to do it, but the easiest way for a Rotary Club to do it is, what you need is the little form that you fill out once a year that has your federal ID number in it. You need that, and you need access to your checking account. You can set up credit cards through, now I just drew a blank. Who's the who's the online credit card company? Oh, don't you hate it when your mind goes blank?
An online credit card company?
Yeah, the one that everybody uses all the time. Square. Square costs you about 3%. And if you use PayPal, it costs you about 3%. Spencer is now using PayPal. I have a Square account for Spencer that we've never used, so it doesn't cost us anything. But Spencer, because we're doing all of these raffles, have set up a PayPal account. To set up the PayPal account, all you need is your federal ID number and access to your checking account. So when they make their two deposits, that you can put in the deposit number and the two withdrawal numbers. And of course, all four of those transactions equal 0. But all you really need is that federal ID number that you're supposed to fill out once a year on your annual report.
Like the N99, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Whatever's
that's
got
the
your,
way I think, Sheila, I agree. I think there's easier ways, but I can't right off the top of my head remember the one that, that 3 or 4 or 5 of them are all hung up on because they use it within their business or other organizations. And, but it's really, having to get verify and even the federal number and all this, it's like, but they want a business like, and I'm like, who does this? So I even have talked to them. And there's not many out of the 54 Rotary clubs in West Virginia. There's only 6 registered as a business.
well, and we have our bingo license and we're not registered as a business.
Right.
So I'm pretty
yeah.
sure Square does not require you to be registered as a business.
Well, I will maybe even talk to them about that because the thing is, I could have already had this done, but it's like pulling teeth getting the information, which is okay. I mean, nobody gets paid to do these jobs, I understand, but there's got to be an easier route than having to go get a business license,
Yeah. There are cheaper programs out there, but Square is easy to use.
Well, I think they were going to be paying with the debit. If everybody would pay, it was like 2 point something, and then if you used your credit card, I think it went up to about something like that. Yeah. So.
Well, Square's less than 3%.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter if you use your debit card. It also takes American Express.
Yeah. So, well,
I think
American
Krista-
Express was not going to be used on the one that we were going to be using, so I do remember that.
I
Well,
think
Square
Krista
takes them all.
uses the Square at their store, and I just switched over to it at my store, and so far I like it.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, we had Square a long time at work, and it automatically links to QuickBooks.
Yes.
Oh, does
And it
it?
also, Square will also let you send your invoices out. And if you send your invoices out through Square and they pay through their invoice, it's cheaper than if you hand punch their credit card.
Right.
Oh, what a fantastic idea.
That's a great idea. I think that's good.
Krista, are you writing this stuff down?
See, we're solving all the world's problems one at a time, and it's all thanks to this venue.
Yes, well, these are a lot of things that we talk about at our meeting, and I feel like we kind of spin our wheels because Thomas and Krista and myself are the 3 who are kind of trying to put this together and evolve that a little bit. And that's another thing. I wanted to make sure I was in on that training for the DAC because even though Thomas is our communications guy, Krista and I also do that. The 3 of us do it together. So I don't want to miss any of those trainings.
Okay.
For sure.
And I'm going to start trying to put those on. I got a little bit behind for a couple different reasons the past couple of weeks. But once I get those in, hopefully in the next day or 2, all the communication people, then I thought about it because I thought, well, it wouldn't hurt to send it to even because sometimes it's a treasurer does it. I mean, there's just a lot of combinations in clubs about who does it, And so I thought about maybe to send it out and then, to the ones that, especially to the 14 or 15 that haven't really identified somebody, but to do that. And I have to tell you, I did most all the COVID training. A lot of it I already knew, but there was always something new you sort of even picked up to help me do training. And I'm telling you, I love it. It's just like one topic, 20 minutes, boom, and then because you can absorb that much. Sometimes that deep training, I've gone to these 3-day trainings, and I come back overwhelmed. I can't even hardly remember my name. it gets so whatever. But I like the little slick things, and then you can save the videos. They're archived. But DACDB, they're that list over there under support. They have great training. But I'm going to start sending you the links to them so it'd be easier for you to find them. So things like that.
Also, you need to remember that on Rotary International, the president and the secretary have more authority than anybody else. So if your communication officer, if you want them to be able to do anything, you need to put them in as an executive administrator or an executive secretary.
Sheila, was that you or?
Yes.
Okay. And I have to tell you, this was an interesting story. I was the, as Dennis may know, the club secretary for 12 years at Bluefield. I was in a Rotary in 4 months. Next thing you know, I got anointed as secretary. It is one of those roles you couldn't give up. And when I transitioned to Princeton, I swore I'd never be an officer. I just wanted to be a member, but now I'm the secretary for 1 year. And, it's, you know, it's like just a lot going on with that role. And, you know, the training is, that's what I'm saying. We're not consistent because most everybody wants to keep these roles 1 year and roll out of them. And then, you know, it's starting all over again. But we need to get a little bit more consistent with those people, you know, I think, and keep trying to keep somebody in the role. I don't think it's a lifetime commitment. I hope not in any of them, but
well, do you think it's a good idea to do the cross trainings? I feel like that's what we're doing is even though, you know, even though that's Krista's job as secretary, I have been able to fill in when she's not there, but we're all in it together. You know, we're all cross trained to do it.
3 or 4 years at Bluefield, that's what was so great. The treasurer, she was really good with, you know, technology too. And so we shared everything. Like she couldn't be there because she was out maybe a couple months with some, you know, illness. And, you know, we covered each other. And it's always nice to have a backup. Life's not perfect for any of us. So I like having that backup. And I think cross training I'm all for cross training. I think that's great. Yeah. Good idea on that.
Well, Spencer had a problem where the officers didn't get turned in and nobody was at Rotary International on the website. So I'm a firm believer that you put somebody in that's a longtime member as your executive manager. So there'll be somebody that Rotary International will speak to.
Let me respond.
Sheila, I think that was a point I failed to make that I think I got sidetracked here. I stepped on my dog's foot and I had to console him for a minute when I did that. But that was the interesting thing. So when I went to Princeton last year, they wanted me to do some DACDB training, but I don't think it was you, Sean. I forgot who it was, asked me to do some my Rotary on Rotary International and show how to put the club goals in. Well, I thought, oh, no problem. Well, come to find out, only the 3 people can do that, put club goals in: president, secretary, and executive secretary. So I had to ask Craig Stout, our club president, I said, would you make me executive secretary? And he said, well, I've never had one. I said, well, I've never been one. So I went in and I took that title just so I could have access to be able to do training, because before it never been a problem, been a secretary. But there's only 3 key people that can put in the club goals, you know, for each year. So, and that's another important, you know, and then again, if you don't get those people in, you don't get some of the communication that might be directed to those areas. So even if it's putting the president again, whatever in that role, somebody needs to be in it.
Sam, she is walking very treacherously near one of your favorite topics. Are you sure you don't want to chime in on the fact of
yes,
the level?
Sam is excellent at my Rotary.
The level of importance and the clubs entering their goals and monitoring their RCC information and things like that. That's your forte.
I would be preaching to the choir if I spoke to Weston, because they've
helped me out a lot.
Yeah. I wanted to mention too, I'm not an expert at DACDB by any means, but I know how to do some of the basics, and Ed Westfall is a lot better than I am. But I have been doing little tutoring sessions with the president-elect at the Kingwood Club, things like how to enter new members, how to enter your officers, how to P-mail, how to P-tax, RI compare, and I've got all that written out. If Krista, if you or Tina are interested, we could get on a conference call. We could go through some of those things. if you would like to do it like on our region level, I guess.
Yeah, and some of that stuff's actually in written form already that Sam and I and Julie and a few others prepared as part of the pets binder that that Bob's got right now for your club and that Julie's got for yours, Sheila. And Paul, you've got it too. It's pretty, it's colorful, but it makes sense, and it takes everything step by step on where you input that information, how you do it. It may even discuss the importance of why you do it, I think.
Yeah. I know Thomas had a little bit of trouble entering your club officers this year. He did it, and when I checked it, there was an error or two, so we spoke, and I offered to fix it for him. He said, please do, and so I did, but you know, he could use some training as well, and it's a good idea for the two of you, if you're interested, to learn those basic things too. So I'm available. Just let me know if you want me to help you with any of that. I'll be glad to do so.
And Sam, do you do any of the training? I think one of the most important things to me, if we don't get these members in Rotary International, but you enter in DAC-DB and you don't integrate, then they don't get their number, and then of course they don't get the Rotarian magazine, and then, you know.
What Tina and I found out is that since they have changed my Rotary to the updated, they've been bugs. And so what we may have in DAC-DB doesn't end up in the RI database. And basically, the lady I spoke to at RI said, you know, give us a couple, 3 months. And so there are some problems there. And Tina and I experienced that, and I had to do some research and make some calls to figure out why it was, you know, it was happening the way it was happening.
I get an email about every 2 weeks from the mothership saying, dear Governor, you still have 23 clubs that don't have their officer information input into my Rotary. I go to DAC-DB, I physically look at them, they are there. I physically confirm that RI integrate is checked. And just as an additional safeguard, I then go to myrotary.org and try to input that information there, or at least make sure that it's there, and it won't give me clearance to do that. So this most recent time, I replied to the email I got from whoever it is at Club District Support, telling me that we still lack providing them with that information, and said, okay, here it is. Here's this club, here's their officers. This club, their officers. This club, I went down every one of them. And I even went as far as filling in blanks with people who weren't identified. If you were the secretary of a club and you had no treasurer, on my list, you became both, because I didn't want there to be one blank on that answer that I sent to them and said, here, I've input it, they've input it, we've checked that it should be input on your end. It's not. You want to know who it is? Here it is. You go type it in. I haven't gotten any more of those emails from RI yet. So either they've figured out a way to solve the problem, or they've done what I asked, or I just haven't received my pink slip yet. I'm not sure which.
Right.
But
Well, I did that last weekend for Roger Topping. He sent me about 24, 25, and so I spent a couple of hours, and I thought, well, these people are in there. And so I just flipped them off an email real quick and said, what's happening or whatever. But one of the things I do, as soon as I put new members to our club, I did that a couple of days ago, Princeton, I immediately go right over to integration, the Rotary integration, and then I click, the add to RI, and then it syncs right then. So that's what I've gotten my habit of doing, that right then in DAC-DB. So that's the biggest thing I do.
And Deb, let me apologize to you. We just had one club transfer her membership from Logan to Williamson, and somebody had already taken care of that, but the former president that she replaced when she made the switch was still showing up as the current president, and I knew that wasn't the case. So I went ahead and made that change myself. So I hope
was that Lola?
Yeah, I hope not to have overstepped.
No, I appreciate anybody's help. I don't care.
Well, I won't name names, but I went in and made a change for a club one time, And I very politely got a very impolite email saying, hey, don't mess with our stuff. We'll make changes ourselves. Just because you're,
I would never say anything like
just
that to
because you're the
anybody.
governor-elect, we're not really sure why you're meddling in our business. And I said, hey, you know
No.
what? I went back and changed it all back. I said, fine, do
No,
it.
I don't send those kind of emails. I talk communication too long for to do that. I would
No.
never do that.
I just try to be helpful. Sometimes I get outside of my own lane. I acknowledge that, but
One of the RI support people I talked to told me that things don't always transfer over to RI from DAC-DB as it should. And one really interesting thing that Tina and I found out is we went into my Rotary, and I can't remember what you click on, interchange club officers, whatever.
Right.
And Tina had made the change, and the club officer that they claimed that wasn't entered was right there in my Rotary. Tina had put it in, but somehow their database is different. And that's when she started talking about the bugs that they have in the new and better My Rotary. So there are some issues out there that.
Well, and let me throw this out. DAC-DB, Deb's got her own Deb as well, and a lady by the name of Lynn Kelly, who, if we can't fix it,
Right.
Lynn usually can. She's kind of a zone DAC-DB coordinator for 33. And I, as does every governor, has an entire club and district support team at Rotary International that will answer any question that you've got. The gentleman that was assigned to me as a governor nominee has been nothing but helpful. And I'm talking about John Hannis, Rick. You know him. He was on the alumni call 2 weeks ago. You got a problem, you ask me, I'll send it to him, and it shall be taken care of. So
Right.
don't
And
stay up
Lynn
late at
Kelly
night
also,
worrying about stuff.
Sean does a lot of the training. Lynn Kelly does a lot of the training, and I'm telling you, she's really good. So occasionally I get stumped in Sam was just talking to how things, sometimes there are glitches. I tried to add a new member this week, and his last name's Osborne, and he has an E on his end of Osborne, and so it comes up and said he's already a member, and I asked him, he said, I've never been a member, and so whatever happened, but there's in another club, and I don't even know where it is, in Oak Ridge somewhere. It wasn't Tennessee, but it was Oak Ridge, and it's Osborne without the E, and so they're thinking there's, I don't know, and I don't know how that is, so I don't know how, this guy may get transferred to our club. I don't know how that's going to
Yeah,
go.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, with regard to technology and data entry,
Well, there are glitches.
A lot of days are going to feel like trying to push a wet rope uphill. It just are.
Yeah,
and
there are glitches.
and we'll manage. We'll figure it out. Well, I've got 7:36 in the PM. That gives us, I guess, officially about 9 more minutes before we're supposed to be talking about club communications and things. But this certainly pertains to secretaries and treasurers. So I'm glad we're having this discussion. I don't want to cut anybody off. And in fact, we can just let this session bleed right over into the next one if you want. And if nobody new shows up, we'll call it a day. And if they do, then we'll bring them up to speed and see what they have to share with us. So what other kind of concerns does anybody else have from any, really any perspective from that matter? We've got, Tina, take off your all fix-it hat for a minute and put your president-elect hat on.
Yeah.
What do you see as far as obstacles moving through the role you have right now into the one you're going to have next?
Oh, that's a tough question since I have a lot of roles right now. So,
Well, it's all voluntary. You did it to yourself. I feel a bit sorry for you.
oh, thanks. Well, I think I think it's just going to be the transition of keeping our older members as we evolve into this new technology stage of our club.
Seasoned.
Yeah, I don't know how to say any of that without sounding rude. Because I don't intend to. I think that's my biggest thing that I worry about, like just going forward, because we're slowly making changes, and Krista and I are working really well, like together, coming up with a lot of great ideas to make our club grow, I'm not even like president yet, and it's growing like insane. We've actually got 3 new members coming on. I've got a preacher and his wife coming. I had asked her to speak at one of our meetings, and here we are a year later that her and her husband are probably both going to join.
Well, now you got a club chaplain. Good for you.
It's I don't know. It's the whole thing's been amazing. So I don't know. I'm just looking forward to a lot of the stuff that we're going to do.
You and Krista are fortunate to be as well equipped to do this as you are, because you've really created a whirlwind in Lewis County with Rotary. So I'm glad you're getting what you asked for. Just make sure you hold on tight.
I'm trying. I think our social media has played a big role in it. I try really hard to keep up with that and just putting stuff out there and giving people what they want to see, even though it was a very hard transition for me, because I don't want to ever feel like I'm boasting or bragging about anything. And even with my business, that was a really hard thing for me, to be able to give and give and give and not talk about it, because I don't tell anybody I did this. That's not why I'm doing it. But you have to. That people have to see what our club is about and what we stand for. And so that's been a little bit of an adjustment for me, is being able to just speak about the stuff that we're doing without boasting.
Most Rotarians are humble by nature. They want to do good things just to see good things done, not because they want a pat on the back for doing it. But, there's kind of been a push in the last couple of years with these several international presidents that we've had. And, I'm not so sure about the one after this one. I don't. Shekhar Mehta he's culturally different than a lot of his predecessors, at least the recent ones. So I'm not sure what his message is going to be, but I can tell you that after him, with Jennifer Jones having recently been confirmed to be the first female international president, she's got a lot of ideas, some of which she's going to share with us. She prepared a video for us that we're going to play during our event Thursday night. And she just sent it to me. So, not to kind of, I guess, well, not intentionally, but as a teaser for Thursday, that's going to be a great event. So,
John, I think the transition for Tina is going to be easy, because she, along with Krista, are definitely leaders in that club. And she'll just have a title change. She'll keep doing the things that she's doing with Krista's help, and the club will continue to be a better club as time goes on, in my opinion.
We just got to keep them from flaming out.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Make it. Hey, I'll tell you what, make him be governor. Then that'll solve that problem.
What's really kind of amazing to me, and it's really a good thing, is that both at the Kingwood Club and the Weston Club, you have relatively new members, younger members. Tina, you became a member in 2019, is that right?
Yeah, September.
So a year and a few months. And in both of those clubs, it was those newer, younger members that transformed the club. Sean, you know what happened in Kingwood. Their membership grew 70% as a result of Carrie along with Terrell.
Yeah.
And so,
but I think the landscape was conducive to that too.
Yeah, but it's unusual, for newer members to be able to come in and have that kind of impact.
Well, and the seasoned members to allow them to do that too.
Exactly, that's exactly my point. But maybe they knew something needed to be done. And they just let them roll with it. So it's a great thing.
Spencer's got that going on right now. Sheila keeps playing with her iPhone. I'm not sure what she's doing over there, but I was just at the Spencer Club within the last couple of weeks, and they're doing the same thing. They've got, it's there. A lot of them are the same in that way. You've got some people that have been there for 25 years, and you got some other people that have been there for 10, and a few that have been there for 2. And everybody's exchanging ideas, and they're doing things in different ways and considering how alternatives to this and that. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, they scrap it and think of something else. I mean, your own club's been like that. Grafton, Wasn't so long ago, Grafton was the club that had all the new members join. If you two gentlemen can recall, I certainly haven't forgotten.
I will say it helps though too. Like we do still have a few members who have that mindset of the boys club, in the lunch the lunch. But some of our older members, seasoned members, sorry, have said, you know, we need new blood. We're tired. And those are the ones who are encouraging and, you know, making us feel like we're doing something worthwhile.
You know, there's nothing worse than when you're an aspiring new young governor. For every bit of advice you get, to start with the phrase, "Back when I was governor." So it doesn't, but you don't have that. They're more forward thinking and future looking. And again, it's a lot about the landscape. You could be in a very different situation with your youth and your new, fresh ideas and desire to do things a certain way, and be met with a lot of pushback.
Yes.
There are clubs that have that. And
I think the pandemic has actually helped with that aspect, because it came in and threw everything out the window.
Yeah.
So it's almost like starting with a fresh slate, in some regard.
Yes, it forced them to make the changes that we were trying to do anyway.
I have never been the governor without a COVID virus, and probably will never be allowed to be the governor again without the COVID virus. So if I've got to be the Corona governor, I might as well govern with Corona. And if this is the way it needs done, and that's what we're going to do. And I'm not building rockets. I mean, I had a playbook, I thought, and then in March I set it on fire because it wasn't going to look the same. But a lot of the messages are the same, and a lot of what you all are doing, whether you're doing it in a different way with a different face, or on a different part of the week, or at a different time, you're still doing it. And that's what we need to be doing, whether you're the president-elect, the president nominee, the president unrealized, the secretary, the treasurer, or an old cat like some of us, seasoned people that are on this call right now that have done all those jobs. And the difference is this group of seasoned people looks at what you're doing and is refreshed by it. We're not threatened by it. We're not offended by it. And I think the majority of the seasoned people in the clubs see that the same way. Everybody's got a curmudgeon. Heck, I have my bad days. Stay out of my lawn. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows me well enough to know that. But for the most part, I think we're able to embrace it. And you're right, COVID has caused us to not be able to get away from some of that. Now, what the new normal, if there is ever going to be such a thing, looks like later on, we'll see. But I'll bet you that now that we've had a virtual pets and we've had a virtual assembly, some of those things may not go back to ever being in person again. Now, I'm not saying that that's good, bad, or indifferent, because I'm that guy that likes to roll around and hug and smooch and see people and shake hands and do all those things. I miss that. Believe me, Coop came to visit me a couple of days ago. I shook his hand when he came to the door, and it was almost like something I'd never done before. It was that unfamiliar to me. So I'm looking forward to when we can do some of that again. But this whole experience in pandemic has taught us that there's more than one way to skin a cat. And in some instances, it's actually better the new way. So
our club, it was a pretty much of a seasoned club, and they really embraced the evening group that we started that you were referring to there last year. These were folks that couldn't make the noon meetings because of their job obligations, and they're younger. Probably average age is 40s. I mean, that's really young to me, as old as I am. But, we've embraced their new ideas, their new projects. They've come up with new projects that we love, and we all support those. And we're going to have an Interact Club if we ever get through COVID, because 2 of those new members are teachers at Grafton High School.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say that there are seasoned Rotarians who can do great jobs too. And Ed Westfall, who is our president this year, is one of those. Of course, he did the citation goals. He's created like 11 committees or so in our club so that everyone's engaged in doing something, and he attends all those committee meetings on Zoom. Yeah. I think we've had more projects from July 1 to date this year with COVID than we did pre-COVID. We have found projects to do, and a lot of them Ed found.
And as far as seasoned Rotarians go, Ed is known in some circles as the allspice.
Well, I have a question for Allspice then.
Spole? What?
Allspice, not Old Spice.
Allspice. Yeah.
I mean, wow. I've
that
been
was a
called a lot of
compliment.
things, Sean, but I'd never heard
That was a compliment.
allspice.
We've been trying to impress upon Tina to start using the word seasoned instead of older.
Okay.
And this late in the day, we kept talking about seasoning. And when you showed up, I thought, well, there's Ed. He's the allspice of the season rack. That's just what that is.
Okay.
So
Well,
Chris has got a question for you.
I do. So, with your committees, we would like to really engage members into a fundraising committee. But what we have found thus far is that I don't want to say there's resistance, but there's really, I guess, kind of a lack of interest because it's fundraising and it's the thing that nobody really wants to talk about, but we all need to do. So how do you make a fundraising committee successful, or do you have tips or pointers?
well, I was going to chime in after Sam had talked to say that in one respect, Zoom has really helped us utilize committees and get more people involved. The first time around when I was president, it was my goal to get people engaged through committees, but it never got beyond naming some committee chairs. This year, we have some committees that are meeting and doing some good work. As far as just fundraising, I'm not sure. I would say it was start with picking the right chair person who would be enthusiastic about fundraising.
Well, daggone it, that's me, and I can't get anybody involved in it. So, and I can't be any more enthusiastic than I already
No,
am.
I agree.
May I remind everyone that in 8 days, we are going to have session number 2 of these little chats that we're having. The topics, one of which is fundraising and service projects. And while I'm glad to talk about those tonight as much as you all want, we've got some people that are planning to be part of that discussion then that I think will give us some even extra perspective on, those ideas as well. So if you're able to make that, great, but let's keep the conversation going for now if you want. I myself, let me talk as a Fairmont Club Rotarian instead of that other job that I do. My club is 102 years old, and so are some of the members. We've done a lot of the same projects for a long time, and realizing that, and then I guess a little bit of this governor thing has shown me that for the same reasons that global grant opportunities require a community assessment, so should your service projects and fundraising ideas. You can't, and your membership, put anything in that blank that you want. You've got to always remain mindful of what it is that you're doing and the fact that you're doing it for the right reason, and that's that the community needs it or wants it. It's not something that your club wants to do just for the sake of having something to do. So if you're having trouble finding ideas about what your next thing should be, instead of you having the pressure of trying to come up with the idea yourself, reach out to the people in the community that whatever it is you're going to do is designed to benefit. Let them tell you what they want. Now you don't have to come up with the idea yourself. You just got to figure out how you're going to pull it off. That might be of some benefit to you. I don't know, but.
And the other part to that too is once you've done it, make sure you talk about how it met those needs. Talk about all that you were able to do because of the project. And then that will encourage and that will bring energy, for doing more.
Yeah, and you can always change it, or you could always scrap it if it didn't work. but you're never going to know if it works unless you try it. If it works, great, then you're onto something. And the community's needs are going to change all the time too. You know, a lot of the clubs that haven't met since March and are just now starting to, I don't know that they realized that they were worried about, well, how are we going to meet? When are we going to do that? But of equal importance was the community out there that relied on that club and its, you know, its efforts to help them do what it is they wanted to do too. So I think that's just as important as, you know, the way you view it from the club perspective.
Yeah, and
Sean, one of the things that the Princeton Club has sort of looked at, and Thursday night, we're going to meet at 5 at the little place downtown, Sophisticated Hound. It's a brewery, but to watch the Zoom meeting.
Shocking.
Polio Plus.
Shocking.
Yeah.
You're going to a brewery. Shocking.
Oh, well, yeah, right. Twist my arm. Okay. But we decided maybe it's a good idea. He's going to give a base either on a entree or a one of the craft beers, a percentage, but maybe looking at small businesses because that's, you know, a lot in our area that's really been impacted, and doing a collaboration with them. And so we've done that with 2 or 3 other businesses, doing like maybe some people just get together maybe for breakfast real quick, or, you know, coffee, that type thing, and some of these little places. And that's kind of what we've done, but that's what we're going to be doing Thursday night, and the proceeds will go to, you know, the Polio Plus thing. And so, yeah, that's just what we've been trying to do is reach out to some small businesses.
Sheila, you've had your hand up for a while again. I'm going to teach you just to speak up over top of some of us seasoned people that can't stop
Well,
talking.
I try to be polite.
No, you don't. But you go ahead and talk. Anyway.
Okay. Can I give them a quick idea on a fundraiser that they
Absolutely.
don't have to have many participants in their club to do it?
That's why we're here.
Okay, ladies, through PayPal, you make a PayPal account. You have somebody that's artistic, and you can go to Spencer Rotary's club to see how we're doing our tickets. You put links from PayPal, and you sell raffle tickets. We had a raffle ticket for our last one was stay at home vacation, was outdoor stuff. We raised over $1,000 from it. We sold the tickets for a month. This month, we're doing one a month. This month we got a freezer, and we're giving a gift certificate to either have a deer processed or to buy beef or fresh produce, whatever. So it's a freezer and $100 coupon.
Wow.
That's a fantastic idea. We have a
Yeah,
raffle going on right now for a gift basket with wine and glasses and a blanket, just different things from local artisans, but we are having trouble selling the tickets.
Okay, put it on your Facebook. Put it on your Facebook page, and we're not selling the tickets for $1. We're selling them $5 and 6 for $25.
Oh, wow.
Very
Okay.
few people buy the $5 ones. Most everybody buy the 25. And we've had people, because people want the freezer,
Yes.
and we've even gone on it, will not deliver freezer. People are buying tickets from all over because they want that freezer.
Wow.
The other thing you're doing, Sheila, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're kind of collaborating with the Ripley Club in doing that, correct?
No, some of the Ripley Club members are buying tickets, but we can't, they don't communicate with us.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. I'll fix that. Don't you worry.
Okay. And then, so we're doing that to replace our bingo because there's no way we're going to be able to have a bingo, but we're going to try to do a raffle once a month. And our goal will be at least to make $1,000 or more off of it.
I guess we're kind of talking about club communications in this regard.
Yes.
You know,
And the other thing is, ladies, even though you're selling the tickets on Facebook, you make each person responsible for $100 worth of tickets, whether they buy it themselves or they sell them.
Right. Right.
You know, the Barbersville Club, Sarita Canova, Milton, and what's the fourth one in that region? I'll think of it in a minute. They're raffling a car.
Yes.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's all over the Facebook page. It's got, it's wrapped with, you know, stuff, Rotary swag. And all four, what my point is, all four of those clubs are collaborating and doing that, and they're each equal sharing in the profit margin. And I think they're going to use some of that money to go towards their, polio plus contribution for the year as well.
Krista,
Then I'll
something,
probably go buy a raffle ticket from their club if it's online.
I think they're $20. Yeah.
something that the Braxton County Club did, they always had an elimination dinner and then had a silent auction afterwards. Of course, they couldn't have the elimination dinner this year. So they used Facebook to have their silent auction on Facebook and did almost as well as far as how much money they brought in as they did at the elimination dinner. I don't know how they set it up, but certainly someone could share that with you from their club.
Well, we had been like rush planning to do an elimination dinner for last April, but then with COVID, we didn't get to. But we did not get rid of our prizes, and we didn't refund any of the money because we plan to have one for, coming up for 21. We're still going to have our elimination dinner, but it's getting people together to pick a date and everything. We got some really great prizes donated, and one of our members is an auctioneer, so we were going to auction those prizes. We just chose to hang on to them because I don't know. I didn't want to have to go ask those people for donations again. So I thought, well, this will pass. And we can't have our annual Christmas dinner for the kids. So that was money that, we also get donations from some bigger places for that Christmas dinner. And I think the seasoned people in our club are used to those donations coming in, and they don't ever really stop to think about what's going to happen when we stop getting those donations, that we need to have a backup plan because they've just always banked on that. So I think that's why we get a lot of hesitation or resistance from some people for doing fundraising. It's all fun and dandy and they want us to do it. They don't discourage us from it. It's just, they're just not real helpful about joining in and let's make it happen.
We sold most of our tickets through our Facebook page and PayPal.
That's a great idea.
By the way, Huntington is the fourth club. I don't know why I couldn't think of that a minute ago.
And we also, if they don't sell any tickets, we fine them $100.
Oh my.
Oh, Krista, are you still on there?
Yeah.
Can I see your face for that response?
Well, when we have our bingo, we require everybody to sell 5 tickets. That's $100.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea. I think that's phenomenal. I love it. I'm so stealing it.
While we're talking about communications, I've got a question. What do you all think is the best way to communicate? How do I want to put this? In a way that you've got the ability to, get feedback from people who have been attached to Rotary in some way, but not necessarily been Rotarians, like from an alumni perspective. Rick, do you follow what kind of question I'm trying to ask? And maybe you're better to ask it, being our district alumni chair. How do you communicate with those other groups to find out who those people are? Because if we're talking about increasing communication and also, growing membership as we're able, especially in this almost exclusively virtual time that we're living in, how do you do that? Does that question make sense? Rick, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. A little bit of context would be, okay, so we have bunches, hundreds of people who have been involved with Rotary programs over the last 50 years. We know who they are by name. Things have changed. Some of them have passed. Some of them, have moved on to different parts of the world. But they've been associated with Rotary in one way or another. Either we sponsored them or we hosted them, that kind of thing. But, there's a lot of communication directly to the clubs. You write to the secretary, you write to the presidents, you ask them a question, you ask them to do this, or you ask them to do that. And I can understand how you might just get inundated with, messages from this chair or from that chair, from this governor or that governor or whatever. What seems to be, or what could be, we talked earlier about, a different time now, and maybe there's new ways to do this. What are ways that we can have an effective, efficient communication without it being overburdening, in a way which advances multiple, initiatives. Obviously, with mine, with regard to alumni, it'd be great to hear back from everybody, across the district, because we know a whole bunch of people, and we've shared some of who those are. Better than we do as to where they might be, or how might we be in touch with them, or that. So I just kind of turn it around and ask, what's the best way to communicate? For interaction, feedback, that kind of thing.
Well, I know myself, I'm more apt to, if I've joined a Facebook page, to read what's on their Facebook page than I am an email, because I personally have 7 emails for 7 different companies. So I get inundated every day with spam emails. So if I don't know the person, I hit delete. But if I'm interested in it, I might go to the web page and read what's there.
Okay, so communication then directly to the club's webpage might be a way to go.
Yes.
I would agree with that. I have 4 separate emails with work and all the things that I'm involved in. So I too get inundated a lot with email. I think a social media or a web page, or even if it would be, and this may be cumbersome, but even if it were a personal email, if you were going to go that route, something that would catch my attention versus a blanket email asking for feedback.
And if somebody has Rotary in the subject, I'm more apt to read that email than if you say club secretary and don't say Rotary club secretary. I'm probably not going to read that email.
Oh yeah, Sheila, that's a conversation you and I have had more than once. I know how annoyed you get bombarded with what on its face appears to be garbage, but might actually be something of substance.
Yeah, I have a Rotary email for that very reason.
Well, I'll be the first one to admit I don't always use it. So if you throw my stuff away, shame on you.
What
I kind of recognize your name now.
What about using DACDB and using Pmail?
I can answer that a little bit. Pmail does give you the ability to track who it is that's opening your mail and looking at it. But Pmail is a little frustrating because in the subject line, no matter what you type, it becomes fairly obvious at some point if you see enough of them that you know that it's Pmail. And, I think the average read report on Pmail is about, Deb, correct me if I'm wrong, 30% at best, usually.
Correct. What I do with a lot of people that I get it, like you could make I use Outlook or Outlook Express, and I just have made a rule that anything that comes from DACDB or you, Sean, just dumps into a folder, and then I know whether they're not.
At least she's honest. I'll give her that.
Well, but no, I think I'm like you. I'm more of a social media, but I mean, I'm more like the website thing, but I'm also been retired. I guess I have more time, but I talk communication, and I have always stressed to students or whatever, the subject line is as important as what you're going to say. If you don't capture your attention there, it doesn't matter what you put in the email. So subject line is really important, I think. So.
Also, if you could text people usually read their texts.
Right. And one of the things about, we do have texting, or P-text as they call it, in DACDB. The one thing you have to do, though, you have to, of course, have their cell phone, but you also have to have their carrier. And interesting, I think it was, I want to say AT&T.
Yeah.
I had to go back and check.
Yes, it's me. AT&T.
With you?
Yeah.
Right. Well, so then after I got to talking to Lynn, I said, well, why did Sean not get it? And she says, well, this was voluntary by the cell carriers, and they opted out or whatever, and she doesn't know why. But basically, I think right now that's the only one, but you can text them. You can, but you've got to go in and put in where you have their contact information, you know, their cell phone. There's a place there, and it's got a list of the carriers. You just go down, select it, and that kind of thing. Because it's got to bounce through DACDB server and then to theirs, versus where you don't need to know my carrier because it's going directly to me. So.
Yeah, well, I won't get them either. I'm AT&T.
Yeah,
Right,
and that's unfortunate because that would be a very nice feature to be able to use, but AT&T has just decided they don't want to participate in the process. So,
Well, I pay them a lot of money a month, so I'll make a nasty phone call.
yeah.
Make one, please, because I think the P-Text, we liked it with my club in Bluefield, and then, but it was an issue when I was there, and so everybody liked the P-Text and things like that, which got into, Tina was talking about how to take care of our seasoned members. One of the things I noticed that there was quite a few that they don't text, but they have that cell phone in case they need it in an emergency about once a year maybe, or never check their, don't do email. So we always made sure that if we sent out emails at the next meeting, we maybe had it printed out 5 or 6 copies for them, or anything that we'd sent, we brought copies to the meeting, and we did that kind of thing. And then we had like these emergency contacts lists in case the weather or some reason electricity was out once and we didn't have a meeting. Well, we knew that there's about 8 or 9 that did not do text, that didn't do emails, wouldn't get it. So we had divided those up into, you know, people that we each took about 3 and we made the calls to them. And there's just a few groups, you know, in each club that hasn't embraced technology, but you still want to keep them as members because they've been probably long-time members. They also have a lot of history and good ideas, but they just don't do technology.
You're muted, Tina. You're muted, Tina.
Do you guys think that the tracking information in the DAC is accurate? Because Krista and I were talking about that today. I kind of stumbled upon that accidentally, and at one point I was a little upset. I wish I hadn't seen it because there were 20, one person had never opened up one single email. There was another person who told me today they weren't getting, that their email was messed up. They couldn't possibly be getting anything from me, but they had 22 emails sent to them and they've only opened 7 of them. And I was like, you clearly were getting the emails. You just didn't
Well,
read
I can address that real quickly. Somebody was telling me about 3 years ago, Bluefield Club, he says, you never, as the president, he'd send me things. He says, you never open my emails, you never read them. And I thought, I read everything he says. But what happens, you know, and Outlook Express, I don't have to actually open the email. I have the way I have my screen set up, I can read the message. I never opened it.
Okay.
And so it's not a fair statistic probably. But, and I said, well, you know, I open everything. I read everything, you know. I said, otherwise, how would I have done, you know? And he said, well, I always wondered, but he says, you've never opened it. And so in my Outlook, the way I have it set up, I don't have to open. I can just read it and then, you know, whatever. So it probably would not send back a message to DACDB that it's been read or opened because I didn't open it, because I just read it on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing, maybe Tina, that might be a little, you know.
Okay, I won't take it
skew the
personal
numbers
then.
there. It would skew the numbers, obviously. But
Tina,
Sean,
once in a while,
everything you send me, Sean, I open everything.
Tina, once in a while, I send an email out asking them to respond that they received my email so that I know that it's a good email.
Okay. That's fair.
And you can check for bounce reports if people have a bad email, maybe they've changed and haven't given you the updated. You can check for bounce reports in your club, and then it would come up. And how that got into an issue about 2 years ago, maybe 3. A lot of the financial institutions, and it just seemed like about the same month, instituted tighter security. So I noticed that some of our banks and other financial places, they were not letting their emails go through.
I have a relevant question here. Deb, what is the difference on those P-mail tracking reports? What is the difference between clicks and read?
Well, clicks, like sometimes the clicks would show you that at least I clicked on it. I may not have opened it, but that also lets me know that it's a good email. I guess it's what that would let
So
you know.
the click might mean that they deleted it
Right. Well, they could have deleted
without
it.
reading it.
Somehow they clicked on it, but you know that it had to be a good email, I guess, rather than
Okay.
just, yeah. That's
It
what
made
that,
it unread is what it did in their emails.
right.
It made it read in their emails.
Thank you. I've been wondering about that.
Anybody else have any other things they want to throw out and discuss? We're a little bit ahead of schedule, but I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing for any of us that are looking to do other things with our time.
Well, I've been on Zoom calls since 3 o'clock.
I won't tell you when my first one started then. Nothing else? Everybody's got all their communications issues resolved and everything. The world's going to be a better place now that we've had this opportunity. Well, now let me ask you this. And I asked some of you this that were in the first session. I'm hoping I get the same answer. Do you, I started out this evening by saying that our district has been very good about getting everybody together before they embark on their journey of whatever role it is they're going to serve in a year. And we've not always been very good about providing opportunities for people to maintain a certain level of engagement and be given an opportunity to ask questions and exchange information. Do you think there's value in having these things more often than not? I mean, I'm not talking about a weekly Zoom call. I don't even know that I'm talking about a monthly Zoom call necessarily, but it could be. But the presidents have not had an opportunity to get together as a group since May until today. And I don't know that the secretaries, treasurers, communications officers, and the ones that we're going to hear from next week have had an opportunity at all. Do you think there's benefit in having sessions like this? Let me ask that question first. Don't everybody chime in at once either.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll just say what I said earlier. I think that it is good. I think you're only it's like trial and error. I mean, if you do it quarterly or what, I think there has to be something because this is beneficial in a lot of ways.
Well, one of the, in the first session, the other thing I threw out there was having an opportunity to do a blog through the website where people can go in and ask questions and that sort of thing. And that idea kind of got refined, I think, in a positive way by Todd Milton Todd Nelson at the Milton Club, who said, why not, like the Alumni Association recently did, and just create its own page, its own group within the district Facebook page, where you have an outlet for the presidents to exchange information. You have an outlet for the CCOs to exchange information, whatever the case may be. Have a service project fundraising page. We've been pretty good, better than in the past here recently, of sharing ideas with each other in the form of, hey, look what this club did last weekend. Look what's going on now. Social media has become a huge tool in allowing us to communicate better with each other. And that's one of the inadvertent benefits, I think, of the pandemic is in a lot of ways, that's what many things have been reduced to, is just a virtual / electronic, media of being able to exchange ideas. So I think that's something we're going to look into moving forward as well. And I see your chat there, Ed. I think monthly is probably too often as well. Just ask Sam. He has been the victim of 10 consecutive monthly AG calls that we started back in, I think, February. And he had a full head of hair when we started this job together this year. Now look at him, so I agree with you. I think maybe, the presidents will have an opportunity, the incoming presidents will have an opportunity to get together in March, but the existing presidents, unless we create an opportunity for them, aren't going to get together again, unless they do it on their own, of course. So I think that maybe after the first of the year, when everybody's had a chance to enjoy the holidays and not be beat about the face and head, with too much Rotary stuff, and, get a chance to reset, re-energize, and then come back in the early parts of the year. And, in the meantime, start thinking about identifying and grooming successors and cross-training that we talked about a few hours ago. Rotary, Little League, Mary Kay, you name it, in a lot of ways is 10% or less of the people doing 80% or more of the work. And unless you just decide you're not going to do it anymore, you got to find somebody that's willing to do it next. And, I've used my club visits as a trolling opportunity, in part, if you will, to identify the people who are moving and shaking in their clubs and not, want to serve in different capacities, or at least share ideas or be committee members, or, who knows, sky's the limit. So.
Sean, I will mention that Facebook groups or listservs, I use them all the time. With Rotary alumni, there's association presidents, and we communicate across the world. If somebody has a question, they throw it out there. Somebody answers, multiple people answer. The Rotary alumni district alumni chairs also have the same thing. Have a question, how do you do this? How do you do that? Who's doing what? Who's doing this? We're doing this. Somebody says we're doing that. And it's communications. In my business, we have a listserv of owners of companies within its one corporate structure. All the time we send out something, you get long discussions, multiple responses.
Yeah.
You don't want to see the response, delete it.
Right.
But at least there's that communication. So, but it's like discussions, similar topics. And maybe it's treasurers, maybe it's presidents, maybe it's secretaries, maybe it's, I don't know, but, just that opportunity to just, you're sending out to somebody without picking up the phone, or sending, 20 emails or something like that, or
Right.
sending a mass kind of a thing. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. Anybody else have anything else they want to chime in about with that in mind?
I just wish we could get more participation in these events, Sean. I don't know how you do that, but it seems like the clubs that are participating are the clubs that are the healthy, vibrant clubs, and the ones that could really benefit, they're not here. And
Well, you got to find other ways to be able to reach those,
yeah.
Nobody wants to have a hard conversation, but I'm not afraid to have it if somebody's willing to be part of it, and not everything is puppies and daisies at some of these visits. And, you try to find the positive things to talk about, but not risk, failing to address something that needs addressed too. I mean, we can create all the opportunities in the world, but, unless you go.
Exactly. The meeting with Becky last evening was just fantastic.
Yeah.
And what we have, like 26 participants.
Right.
And it was, in fact, I got a text from one of our evening members, the chairperson, and she commented on what a great meeting that was. So, you know, as AGs, we try to encourage our clubs that we're responsible for, and it helps some. Was Kingwood meeting tonight? Do you know?
Do I know?
Yes.
I don't know.
You don't know if Kingwood met tonight or not? Okay.
I, you know, back when Zoom was a little newer to everybody in the world, when we went to a virtual pets format, I think a lot of the folks that, I mean, we had greater participation in that format than we were expecting, as had registered to be there in person for the, you know, the normal weekend. But as people learned that with Zoom, you can record a conversation, and as a member of a responsible district leadership team, that you're going to make those recordings available to other people, the need to be able to participate in person, you know, falls drastically. And I don't know that people actually go back and watch the videos, but we make them available. And if you can convince yourself that I can go back and watch that whenever I want to, I don't have to be here tonight talking to anybody. Well, I mean, that's, you know, that's half the battle maybe, but the other half is you're not able to participate in the discussion either. If you've got a question, you can talk to a recording all day long and you won't get your answer. So I think we just keep fighting the good fight and making opportunities available. And let's face it, and I'd get discouraged about things like that all the time. But the flip side of that coin is there are 9 people on this call that know more, hopefully for the right reasons, than they did before they got on it. And so hats off to those that have spent the time being willing to listen to it. And if that means that Princeton and the E Club and Spencer and Newburgh and Grafton and Weston just pull further ahead of everybody else as a result, more power to you. So there you go. That and $1 will get you a candy bar, like I said earlier. Maybe.
I was going to say, where do you get a candy bar for $1?
Yeah, maybe.
Back in my day, they were a nickel.
Well, yeah,
The Friends Auxiliary Gift Shop, Tina.
The wrappers were in black and white then too, right?
Yeah, a pop was a dime. Gas was 19 cents a gallon. So there you go.
Well, if nobody's got anything else, I appreciate you all taking the time to be here. It's late in the day, and like Sheila said, she's been on Zoom since 3. My first one actually started at 10 this morning, and I'm over 600 now since April the 1st. But this is only day 112 on the new job. I got 200, however many that leaves left, and I'm gonna see through every one of them. You all are welcome to be part of every one of those days if you'd like. So I appreciate everybody being here. We're going to do this again in 8 days. We're going to talk about other topics. In the meantime, I would encourage everybody to try to tune in Thursday night at 5 o'clock. I'll go ahead and give you a teaser. That's going to be the district's farewell to polio in the spirit of World Polio Day being this coming Saturday. Thursday night, we're going to have John Nanny, who is a Rotary legend in his own right and polio survivor. We're going to have Julia Phelps, who is a former Rotary International Director and more recently one of the Rotary Foundation trustees. She's going to speak. We somehow managed to get our president nominee, Jennifer Jones, to record a video for us and so that we can share it with everybody during that time. And we're also going to be joined live by our 2 current Rotary International directors in Stephanie Yurchik from Canonsburg and Peter Kyle from Washington, D.C. So I'm not trying to dazzle you. I assure you all those people would tell you they put their pants on the same way we do. But if you want some additional perspective and to be around folks that'll truly enhance the experience for everybody, I encourage you to tune in. It'll be limited to an hour. It's Thursday at 5 o'clock. The link's all over DACDB's calendar. It's on the Facebook page. And if you can't find it that way, just ask me or your AG, who they all have it and have distributed it to clubs as well. There you have it. Another one. If I can do anything for any of you for any reason, short of of being incarcerated, you let me know. I'm glad to do that. Okay, everyone, take care. I'll see you all soon. Thanks for taking the time to be here tonight.
See ya.
Good night.
Okay.
Right.